Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness, I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness, what's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness, behind the back. Layup. Oh, did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness, this guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
You got to earn your liberation.
All right, what's up, world? Welcome back. Earn Your Liberation right here in Black Power Media. Geechee y'all, Jared Ball in the building. Is the diva going to join us this morning? What's happening? He's sick?
Yeah, he said he running a little late, behind time. I think him and Boyce had a meeting earlier this morning. They plotting against you, bro. So, I ain't supposed to tell you that, actually. My bad. So,
is that supposed to be my replacement next month?
Yeah, man. That video was compelling. I just never heard anybody lay out an argument like that in my whole life. And I'm convinced. And that's why I got my Rockaway sweater on, because I'm trying to tell Jay-Z, don't forget me, bro. I used to be your number one fan, and I'm trying to circulate the dollars and shit. We got money, and I'm a hope and pray myself into liberation. So, yeah, I'm just feeling more.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We definitely gonna get into this Boyce Watkins thing. We're gonna talk a little bit at some point about, and maybe to start, I prefer, if we can, to start with in the right place with Mumia and his recent visit with Mark Lamont Hill. We're going to get into some of that. We're going to also get into the history of
X,
Black thought and leadership
on Black X.
On Black X.
Black X, yeah.
And then so it's going to be a full show. And a lot going on. Welcome to the remixers coming in. Please do like, share, subscribe. Put this in your socials. Let others know to join you. Those who see and hear this later, welcome to you as well. And also do the same. Like, share, subscribe. Support Patreon in the show description if at all possible. Later this evening at 7 o'clock, there's going to be a year in review from Black Myths Podcast. So come on back for that. And then make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss all of the offerings coming on the platform. And I noted, I said I'm supposed to be taking a break next month, and already I've had to interrupt it because Mtume Gant was like, Jared, you tripping. American fiction is not that good. So he's going to join me on the 4th to correct my analysis on that film.
Is that only out in the movies? You went to go see it in the movies?
Yeah, it's open in very limited release, which I think is to be expected. But Gant, I will defer to his film, his cinematic expertise, and we're going to also talk about it a little bit in comparison to the film Chameleon Street, which he told us to go back and watch, and I have, and I'm just going to defer to him and ask people to forgive what I'll explain next week. Is apparently the failure of my Vernon philosophy maybe have failed me, but we'll see. So come back for that. Just stay tuned for that. Coming in the new Gregorian calendar year.
I normally trust your judgment to watch movies that I don't watch or stuff I don't watch.
But Gant, there's levels to this, and Mtume might, I might have just got caught out there a little bit. So, but we'll see. What can I say? I thoroughly enjoyed the film, but we'll get into that later on as well. What else? Is that what? Oh, and tomorrow, setting it up now with Saturdays with Renee is going to be another special featured return of Daruba to talk more about police unions and
or the lack thereof,
or what should be the lack thereof, for sure. And talk with him a little bit this morning, and you know, he stays on that analysis. So shout out to Renee in the chat as well. So we'll see you all tomorrow for that. Also, all right. So how do you want to? Because I know we want give Diallo a chance. I know he's a little under the weather. Give him a chance. We're gonna check with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we when Mark Lamont Hill came by the Remix Morning Show last week to talk about this new podcast that he's launched based on a previous book he did with Mumia called The Classroom and the Cell. It's just another one of the offerings in this media universe that I wanted to take, to enjoy, take advantage of. So I made a note and checked out the most recent episodes, 2 parts, of course, because they're 13-minute calls that are interrupted by the prison, of course, and
which is, I think, I don't know if I would assume everybody have some type of nostalgia or comfort, but that hearing that is almost, well, it's just like talking to any family members you got locked in. It's kind of like I don't know. I can't even explain the feeling in terms of how the conversation feel, and then also to hear Mumia's like livelihood. It sounds like he's still young.
It is crazy. I mean, I keep expecting him to start, and every once in a while over the years, he'll be in a little bit of a, I don't know. He'll sound what you would expect to be the sound of someone in his condition and his age. But this most recent one, he sounded strong again and very healthy. And the chat is already on every word. I mean, I can see.
I literally said I can't describe the word, and no, comfort is definitely not the word. But yeah, sure, Ricky and Leah. But yeah. But
I mean, I think that it's not comfort with his being incarcerated, but it is a comforting analysis, and and it was a little, I admit, comforting to hear him sound stronger than he had, but yeah, I don't make a mistake.
I don't know if it's nostalgia or familiarity or whatever it is, but like it definitely is it makes me feel like. So I have like several family members. One of my uncles who just came home from Cali, but I still have several family members that's normally when the conversation come, that things interrupts us, and then we kind of pause and keep going. But I'm talking about that particular thing that's not comforting, but definitely familiar.
Yeah, we just.
But we can.
Upbeat is more from Why Not Learn is what. So I'm gonna pick it up. I just want to play. There's 2 sections that I wanted to play. They're not long, and I encourage people obviously to check out the entire piece. But the first part I wanted to play is Mumia's response to this question from Mark about the relationship between Black people and the Palestinian struggle, which I really thought was on point, and then a little bit from the next clip that responds to something that may be a nice prelude to what we're getting into the rest of the show. But let's just pick it up here. I think I have
Saddam Hussein, the same lies about Al Qaeda, the same lies about these alleged weapons of mass destruction and uranium enrichment, all the stuff that was proven to just be a flat out falsehood, and they will go to the grave peddling these lies. I wanted to ask you a question though, because I was, you go back to the old days. You were old head. So when you're thinking about the 60s and the 70s, how much was Palestine on the radar of black radicals, of people like you who knew everything from the Panthers to MOVE to just the Philly activist streets? Like how much was Palestine on the radar?
It was there, and it was there. If you think back, that's when you saw the emergence of the PLO, right? And they were a presence. And the PLO had a very interesting relationship with the Black Panther Party, thanks to Eldridge. Eldridge made contacts. There were relationships, and some working together. And then, if you recall, not from your life, but from your studies, the United Nations came out with a declaration that Zionism is racism, and the party ran it in their paper, and it caused us scandal. But if you read the writings of the Zionists, they're actually racist in reverse in this sense. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy who wrote the definitive book on there, and his name is escaping me. But he said something to the effect like he wanted Israelis to be, blonde and blue-eyed and that kind of. And it's like crazy when you think about it. Because,
yeah, man.
Yeah. Where is that coming from? And it shows you that in Jewish consciousness, based on their experience in Europe generally and in Germany specifically, they had developed this intense kind of self-hatred, right? And they were trying to reflect an Aryanized vision of like an Aryan Jew. It's crazy.
It's the complexities of race and.
So I just wanted to play that one for that part, and we could welcome Diallo to the show. Good morning, brother. Hope you feeling relatively well.
Good morning.
But yeah, so I just wanted to play that little clip just as a sort of a reminder that from Eldridge Cleaver's work back in the day to the broader work of the Panthers to the broader work of the Black radical tradition and liberation movement, there has always been an understanding and an affinity for the struggle of other colonized people, in particular the Palestinians, and with this heavy critique of Zionism as part of the imperial project. So I just, because I felt like it keeps coming up in our various circles, in some of the commentaries, some of it, I saw somebody last week said something about that we never, and I saw a comment that passingly that, we don't ever talk about Africa. Some kind of stuff is like, why they always talk about Palestinians. Always like, it's like, so just let an OG still being punished for that OG-ness in terms of Mumia, remind everybody what it really is here.
And
Go ahead.
his young boy joke is pretty timely. Like he said, from your studies.
From your studies, not your experience.
Yeah,
young buck. Yeah.
So then there was to learn better young boy jokes, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Then the other, just sort of clip from the part 2 of this, I thought was also very barish from the very bar producing Mumia in this question of sort of extending from the same point, but this question of why do we need to be here, Black people in particular, concerned about other people elsewhere?
What do you say to people who say, look, I'm a Negro in America, I got enough to worry about. I'm a white worker in America, I got enough to worry about with, labor and, outsourcing the jobs and exploitation, etc. I can't worry about elsewhere until I take care of home first. What do you say to those people?
Well, here's the problem with that analysis. You never really take care of home. And
listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Care of home. And people talk about taking care of home. But when you look at something like that, and you cannot, it's like a car accident, you cannot turn away, then what happens in Palestine, right? What happens in Gaza? What happens in the West Bank? What happens in the Sudan? What happens abroad enters...
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
There are no borders in consciousness. So, when we talk about home, what we're really trying to do is deflect from the pain and the shock that we see, because, you know, it terrifies us, right? It
Absolutely.
discomforts us. But Alexis de Tocqueville said, of all things, Americans love their comfort. Well, this is uncomfortable. And it's meant to be. Because, you know, war is uncomfortable.
So there are no borders in consciousness. And Diallo, just so you're aware, every motion you make, writing, everything, the mic picks it up, and that's why I just muted you very quickly. It's just FYI. But yeah, there are no borders in consciousness was just another.
Now listen.
I mean, so I just wanted just those two clips. I encourage, obviously, everybody should be checking out Prison Radio and Mark's discussions with Mumia and whatever else. But as he also said,
You just don't read, beloved.
You know, so
do you think, well, in terms of the you can't take care of home, and I think people, especially in the US, always talk about, like, whether it's financial security or some type of security, feeling safe or these things, and you would have to do, you only could do those things if you totally ignore what's going on and the likelihood that things could be changed for you extremely fast. Like, do you think that kind of speaks to people's or our false sense of security, or that we could, you know, we could be secure in some type of fashion while under imperialism or genocide?
I mean, I do. I mean, I think what Mumia was saying there said it all, that we don't ever really take care of home. Mm-hmm. So this claim that we hear from certain, particularly conservative, from my point of view, conservative nationalists and others, is I'm not interested in Palestine and all these other non-black people and whatever else and this, that, and the third, or even other black people in other parts of the world. It's and you know, we got to take care of our own. Well, but that never really happens. You don't actually ever really do that, and then it becomes more of the cottage industry of securing one's place, position, platform, maybe relative bag, in terms of saying I don't. Let's focus on ourselves. As if to get free ourselves, there shouldn't be any focus on what's happening elsewhere in the world and recognizing connections from the tentacles of imperial oppression. But so that would, I mean, and then it to the extent that I follow Mumia's point there, I mean, it is discomforting to think about war in general. That's part of my argument, around why so much of the propaganda around black capitalism is effective, because part of it is none of us want to go to war. I don't want to think of conflict beyond what would be much more easy to do than say I want to focus on my immediate neighborhood and circulate money and business with my immediate community and not have to look down the road too far. I get all of that, and yeah, I mean, if even consciously or not, often we all think, if I can just make it to the end of the day and get back to my chair, get back to my sofa, get back to my bed, get back to my television, get back to my game tonight, get back to the comforts, the relative creature comforts, then I'll just do that, and then we can put our head down and not really confront and engage struggle, and just sort of and then when people say, but Jared, look up what's happening in Palestine, no, I'm just focused on my thing. I want to get my our thing together. Well, so yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
I commend Mumia's faith in Americans, but I have to disagree with him on the point where he said deflect from the pain. That people don't want to deal with things abroad because they want to deflect from the pain. I think there's a genuine indifference, there or a genuine celebration or admiration. I mean, I think I'm sorry, a little brain fog this morning, but I think there's a celebration of warfare. What's his name? The guy that wrote War is a Force That Gives Us Meaning. There's a fervor for warfare. There is a Americans have been taught that the other is the enemy. Foreigners. I mean, Trump just got on stage and said that foreigners are poisoning the blood. So Chris Hedges, thank you, David. Chris Hedges, he said that the vast majority of people here see the world as a hostile, the world outside of America as inferior, as hostile. So Americans do have very solid views on foreign people, foreign nations, and foreign issues and conflict. It is just very pathological, xenophobic, and American centric. So I would understand and I would have sympathy if I thought most Americans neglected or ignored overseas issues. But I think that many Americans, far too many Americans, have an imperial mindset. There was this book called The Imperial Middle that researched, written years ago, how many rank and file Americans who didn't benefit from overseas adventures and conflicts, who didn't really derive any type of didn't have any real economic stake in U.S. imperialist agenda, but most Americans fully embrace the imperial ideology as America is a beacon or a light at the top of the hill to guide all other nations. And you'll find Americans say, just everyday Black Americans too, would say, we need to stop sending all our money over there. We sending all our money to Ukraine. So I think Americans have views and opinions and concerns about overseas. They're just pathological and warped.
So again, I see this. You're muted, Geechee. Go ahead.
I'm saying, would you include that in the so last, what is that, Veterans Day? I saw quite a few people that supposedly have pro-black nationalists. I don't even call them left-leaning, that they will be like, happy Veterans Day, or they'll post their picture like everybody else of when they was in the military or whatever. Do you think like that's indicative of what you're saying in terms of people's very conscious of the benefits of them participating in U.S. imperialism, even if they can't name it U.S. imperialism, but the mere fact that they will celebrate their being a veteran would be indicative of what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if people were really trying to address home, I don't care how localized an issue is, the quality of schools, then you look at the overinvestment in the military and imperialist adventures. If you're looking into police atrocities and police harassment of Black communities, and you see that they're being trained overseas and using technology developed in Gaza and the West Bank, many of the police officers were fast-tracked from the U.S. military. If you want to look at health and wellness, if you look at the pollutants and toxins in our environment, that again is a global issue. Not only does consciousness not have borders, pollution doesn't have borders, nuclear fallout doesn't have borders, and most importantly, finance doesn't have borders. Glenn Ford spoke a lot about how, as they were making it harder and harder for humans to travel across the globe, they made it easier and easier for money to travel across the globe. So now they can collapse economies without sending in assassins or militaries. They can collapse economies by simply extracting an enormous amount of fiat from their economy. So anyone that sincerely, like ADOS, and I looked up the definition of ADOS, which is hysterical. I played ADOS on a Words with Friends, like this online Scrabble game I play. And when I looked up the definition, but anyway, anybody that's honestly trying to solve the problems of home is going to inevitably lead you around the globe, because you live in the belly of the beast, in the seat of empire. And the people who are able to localize or pretend that their problems both originate locally and can be solved locally, then more likely than not, they're not trying to solve the problems at home. They're just trying to con the people in their own community.
Yeah. So again, this is sort of a part of a running theme with us, where but I think that where, so I end up seeing the what Diallo you're talking about and what Mumia is talking about in terms of this deflection of the pain, all being born from the same propagandistic origins that have been conditioning people in this country to accept the warfare, to accept the distancing from other, seeing the connections to other oppressed communities, from seeing the way that various segments of American society benefits from this country's imperial efforts. There has, again, the entire field of mass communication research has its origins in convincing predominantly young white men to go to World War I. So there has been a long form effort in producing this. So that's why there's I don't think there's anything natural. There's nothing inherent or innate in being born in this country that makes people end up this way. I think it's a conditioning that has been honed and well resourced and funded for a long time. So that's why I think I think it's very important that we hear from people like Mumia reminding us that there is a long tradition of an analysis that contradicts all of this, and movements that contradict all of that, all of which is being suppressed, and why so many of us still do get caught up in it.
But that's why I said it's a pathogenic society. It literally drives you insane. If you do nothing more than become a status quo cog in this system, you can't be fully human. It has to be a conscious and deliberate resistance to falling into the American mindset or the American mentality. Even to say, call that American, when there's two continents called Americans, but Americans in the United States think they are the exclusive sole Americans. It's a pathogenic society. So I would like to, like I said, I wish that had been my observation, that people in the U.S. were empathetic enough that it was just too painful to engage with what the U.S. is doing across the globe, which is why they ignore it. Because I think you could work with that. But I think the average U.S. citizen thinks that overseas people, that the United States is the solution, and that overseas people are exploiting America, and overseas people are a threat to America, and overseas people are invading America, and overseas people are burdening America. So they're not turning away from the pain and sympathy that they feel for people overseas. They generally have hostile or dismissive attitudes. So they don't feel pain about what.
Oh, that wasn't how I heard
Mumia.
Mumia. Maybe I got to go back and hear it. I didn't hear Mumia saying they're turning away from the pain of what others are suffering. I heard them saying they're turning away the pain of their own experience by denying it being the result of these same imperial processes. But I might have misheard that. My bias might have kicked in on that. So Geechee, I got you queued up. If you want to explain the segue or perform the segue.
Yeah, so definitely, I think well, this again, the idea of things about abroad, but maybe we can even segue that Diallo was right in terms of Boyce know exactly what the hell he's doing. He knows very clear the things that he's saying he don't even believe in according to his written word. So here's a clip of. Wait, go ahead.
But the clip, I don't know. Do we need to? I think we need to get the ordering correct here, because this clip comes at is most recent, and I'm right. In terms. So just to quickly be clear, we noted the other day on our EYL pop up that Boyce had. Is this the right order? That Boyce had, without naming me, called me out by playing a 90-second clip from a discussion I had with Black Men Build, and then started distorting it. Mm-hmm. He since then has. So, and I thought it was very interesting, because some of the criticism I got from that show was, why do you keep responding? Why do you keep bringing this up? Why do you keep? In fact, somebody said you keep beating the dead horse of buying power. And my response was that's sort of the point of my work, that you're telling me I'm beating the dead horse, but it's others who keep dragging these dead horse carcasses in and throwing them on my feet, saying buying power. I'm like, that's the dead carcass. I'm trying. So so my point is, they keep, as is boys, as is the case here, boys keeps and others keep throwing out the mythology, and in this case, throwing it directly, I guess indirectly to me by referencing. So now now I can't remember the order now. So then because before this video clip, then he goes back. So after we did the show the other day, he goes back on Twitter and starts again reposting that clip saying, I disagree with this PhD and this, that, and the third, and that's it. So I went and I saw that on Twitter and sent in sort of an extensive series of responses. Mm-hmm. We can go back. I don't know if we want to show, I don't know, but but basically just saying, you didn't really engage my work. You're being disingenuous. Check the work. You claim you're being a scholar. You're not being a scholar. And then, so I wrote this one quick statement that I would like, and then we can move on to his clip. Cause this is what I was basically trying to say and am still saying. Boyce's disingenuousness is most on display when he, on one hand, waives his PhD in economics to claim authority, but then on the other claims a kind of radicalness by not working in the academy and charging his Black audience to take his classes. So that was because part of what he did was, after I challenged him on Twitter, because last week I signed up subscribe to his whatever, I get his emails now. I get his email blasts. And I noticed that immediately he on the one hand, his one little or two little responses to me on Twitter are in this vein of, why are you being so aggressive? Why are you being angry? Why are you saying, and then he even says at one point, why are you saying that one of us has to be wrong? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, but you said I was wrong. And then don't explain it. And I'm like, what do you even, but then I noticed, and he sends out this email blast in which he says, and I put this on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere, where he writes his email to his subscribers and he's saying, sign up for my $299 class. And then, by the way, secondly, here's this video clip of me responding to this PhD who says we don't have any money. So I put out another state and I said, so I see. So this is the disingenuousness. You call me out without calling me out. You don't engage the work. You claim in some, without responding to my criticism, you just say, you just being mad. And then you go back and use this to promote to your students, your subscribers, this is why they need to pay for your class. So this is the point I'm getting at here with my point that on the one hand, you waive this PhD that you got from, as he made us very well aware, the current chair of economics at Cornell University, who is not actually the chair anymore, but he's still in the department there apparently. So you praise this very white professor and this very white Syracuse University degree, and you waive it and say this is what gives you your authority. But then you leave the academy under whatever circumstances, and then and use that as more bona fides and claims and cachet around why you are more authentic and real. But then you go back to your community and charge them to take classes. So I was saying, wait, so first he would do better for his community by taking a good job and the resources that come from the academy, and then giving his people what he thinks they need for free. For instance, if anything, that has been my preferred approach. Instead of going on some fantasy about I don't need a job, or we don't need to be employed, or I don't want to work for the white man, it makes more sense to me that we get jobs. We use the degrees we've earned and get jobs, and then do as Dr. Joy James has argued all the time. We got to get into her new book, by the way, on Angela Davis. And use those resources that you get to take them back to the community. That's our whole point. Get the resources from these institutions back to your community, and not in a way that charges them more money, because apparently your target. And then, okay, so all right. It was beyond hypocrisy to refuse employment, dismissing the academy as too white or too conservative, when it is the very institution from which you claim your academic status and authority. Secondly, this contradiction spits in the face of the tradition of the radical autodidact, or scholars without portfolio, who work tirelessly to learn what is needed to help their people, and who then would be more deserving of charging for their work. How you have situated yourself reflects the poverty of your analysis and shamefulness of your behavior. In the end, you disrespect every tradition of intellectualism, scholarship, and brotherhood. So my point there specifically, as we approach John Henrik Clarke's birthday, for instance, instead of, who didn't get his PhDs and all this stuff until later in life, instead of doing what they did, those who were forcibly kept out of the academy, forcibly kept, and did all of the American Negro Academies and the Crummels and all those traditions, and the Schomburgs and all of the, who create all of these extra institutional spaces for Black radical analysis to descend. Those are people who would be more legitimate in going to the community and saying, I need whatever support you can offer because I don't have a job. It was James Turner that brought in Doc Ben and Dr. Turner to give them a little bit of a break and some resources and some health care that they could then be rewarded for their years of service without such, but then have resources that they could continue to bring back to their community. So in other words, this whole, he never mind my work and what he doesn't even get into, what he gets wrong there. It's his this is what's bothering more than anything. He's misrepresenting everything from what real academics and scholars do, even tirelessly within these institutions, and this autodidact tradition that radical Africans have been, that is really the basis of Black studies in the first place. So all of that it is just so wildly hypocritical before we even get to whatever is the substance of his arguments or claims against me. He's just completely disrespecting his own audience, these traditions, and on top of that, he's wrong. All right. So I just wanted to give some of that context before I pull up this, because then you said he went live yesterday while I was live here, and I was like, man, I was like, I'm not watching this whole thing. So I'm glad you put this together. I have not even watched it yet. So is there anything you want to say before I play it? Or
no? So this is pretty much he spent an hour live talking about a book he haven't read, basing his argument off of what he thought you said in the clip, which he's sure he might not know. And I broke it down as much as I can without, getting the substance. But this is a edited, I think 6 minutes of the clip of an hour.
All right, thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.
Professor named Jared Ball, who I respect, who made a remark that I just can't say I agree with. However, I think rather than beefing and arguing about it, I would just provide some perspective on it to help you understand what's going on. This is the dilemma that we're dealing with, right? And I want to gingerly and respectfully talk about this brother. He's a scholar at, I think, Morgan. Got his name. Man, I feel bad. I don't, because people get mad and they get all offended and stuff. I don't have his name in front of me, to be honest with you. I put his video on my Instagram though. He kind of just seemed to say Black people don't have any money, and because he felt that Black people don't have any money, that this undermines any false idea in his mind that your economics and your investing can lead to your freedom and your liberation as Black people. Now, I suspect I understand kind of where he's coming from on this. I'm not going to presume to understand everything that's in his head. I have not read his book. I think that it's a perspective that should be considered, but I'm going to lay out another perspective for you to consider. And he came in guns blazing. You wave around all your credentials, Dr. Watkins, like you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, come on, man. Like, Like, really, we're scholars. We ain't got to be rappers, dude. We don't have to beef. You ain't got to beef with me to get respect. Like, stop that, man. Come on. Like, let's learn from each other, right? I think that we should learn from each other. Give me a yes if you think that Black people should find ways to disagree agreeably. Like, give me a yes if you think that we'd be a better community if we could find ways to talk about different ideas without making it into a nigga beef. Right? Like, that's what it becomes. It becomes like we're not gangster rappers. We don't have to do this. Well, then you might as well say, hey, I'm team white people because they have the money. Walmart has distribution channels where they can charge you $2 for a pair of socks. A Black-owned business can't do that because they can't lower their prices that low without going out of business. As soon as they get here, they're like, okay, we can't go get money in this neighborhood because they won't let us come in there. The Cubans won't let us come in. The whites won't let us come in. The Jews won't let us come in. Oh, but the Black people, we can come in and take their money because not only do they have lots of money, but they're loose with their money. And also they're under the illusion that they don't have any money because you're trained to believe that you ain't got nothing when you got everything. You are the golden goose. The wealth of this country was built on your back. How are you going to say Black people ain't got no wealth when America would have no wealth if it were not for Black people?
So he just doesn't understand wealth creation. I thought he had a PhD in economics.
The wealth of America was built on Black people. So how the hell are you going to tell me Black people ain't got no wealth? We've made everybody rich except for ourselves because we're Dorothy with the silver slippers. And I'm trying to help y'all just go down the yellow brick road and stop believing in the Wizard of Oz because the Wizard of Oz is full of shit.
Wow.
Every solid Black family is a multi-million-dollar asset if you learn how to extract the value from that asset. You get the kids on code. You teach them how to work together. Most wealthy families do that. The Rothschilds, when the Rothschilds were trying to develop wealth and power, when the first Rothschild was broke and trying to figure out how to build wealth, he had 5 sons. And what he did with those 5 sons was the first thing he taught his sons is ain't nothing more valuable than family. Here's the thing about economic liberation. I don't know if I see a world where all Black people are going to ever be liberated. I just don't. I think there's too much propaganda, too much white control of media that Black people consume. A lot of people that listen to people like me or Dr. Claude Anderson, but there's far more people who do not, right? And I wish those people the best. I don't know what the solution is going to be for the masses of those people. But what I can propose to you is a solution that does work for you, right? I can propose to you something that you can do for yourself with your family right now, no matter how poor you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're working with, that will put you in a position where you will achieve some degree of liberation. It does not mean everybody's going to be liberated. It does not mean you're going to control the world. But what it does mean is that you can at least be fortified enough that people aren't going to come in and use their economic power to slap you around like a little bitch. Black-owned businesses, you are still, for the most part, in the building stage. Now, in a generation, some of these businesses are going to be multi-billion, maybe even a $1 trillion company at some point. It's going to take capital. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time. You wouldn't even see it. It's completely unfathomable. So what I want you to do before I let you go is I want you to understand and take a moment to go with me and try to imagine the unimaginable. Try to fathom the unfathomable. Try to just imagine that there are some raggedy ass Black-owned businesses that they can't pay a living wage hardly, that can barely stay capitalized, they can barely keep their doors open. And some of these businesses in 50 years, maybe 100 years, are going to be worth billions of dollars, maybe even trillions. Because that's what happened in the history of America. And again, I'm not trying to disagree with what the brother said, right? Look, seriously, I suspect I know that there are individuals that speak on issues like justice and the politics and changing laws and stuff like that. And I get all that. I respect all that. But I can say honestly that I don't identify as readily with the aspect of the Black Power movement that leans left, right? That leans toward communist, socialist ideas as a solution. I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. I'm not a capitalist, but I'm not really a socialist, but I can read ideas from Marxism and I can appreciate the Marxist critique of capitalism. Absolutely. If you ever want to, learn a little bit, go read what Karl Marx said about capitalism. I think every critique he made was 100% correct. If you simply tell me Black people have no money and Black people can't get liberation through money and then do a full stop, I don't know what else to do with it. But again, I'm open to being proven wrong. I'm open to being proven wrong.
Yo, I appreciate the edit, but I gotta blame you, Geechee. Look, I gotta say, man, look, this has to be your edits, man. You had to edit that into making him sound as contradictory and confused as I'm sure if we watch that entire thing unedited, it will be much more clear. So let's just be fair to the good doctor on that one.
Before I let Diallo go, I am convinced, not only for the video, but I read his article or his published article, and I saw him on Dr. Mayat's show a year or so ago, and I posted a DIY voice critique, do-it-yourself voice critique, where he literally says something, contradict himself, and all the way down. It's almost 18 minutes. Is on YouTube and Facebook. So even if you don't edit it, I'm telling you, it's going to run just like that. Like it's not going to even. So again, I am firmly in support of Diallo's analysis of this dude is definitely intentionally doing this. So I believe first you take the Jared approach, then when he do the shit he do, and now you got to come with the Diallo approach. So go ahead, Diallo.
I'm sorry, Diallo. Just one quick thing, because I think you're right, but I just want to be clear. If anybody hasn't seen what I said on Twitter or Instagram, I would encourage you to just to confirm that what he said about my behavior is entirely disingenuous and fraudulent. And I even said to him at one point that, because he said that, why are you coming at me like we're beefing rappers? And I said, we're not beefing rappers. I'm asking you as a scholar to defend your argument. So that was the tone and the tenor of my approach. It was just to say, explain yourself. And he did what he did. So, all right, go ahead, Diallo.
This does take me to the pop-up when y'all were trying to role model appropriate behavior for me about being respectful of shitty people. And I love how he said, I respect Dr. Ball, and then proceeded to shit all over your scholarship. So now I'm learning. I'm learning, y'all tried to tell me and it didn't really, I'm a kinesthetic learner. So when I see it done, so I now I'm understanding what y'all saying about respect. So yeah, I respect Dr. Joyce Boyce, Dr. Joyce, Dr. Boyce, but let me say this as well, because they play both sides of the fence, which I'm surprised we haven't really brought up. They play both sides of the fence on this issue, because they'll just as readily talk about the wealth gap and the entrenched, institutionalized, multi-generational poverty just as soon as they'll talk about the trillions of dollars that circulate through our fingers. So they don't really care about the economic status of Black people. They care about their own economic status, and they seek to extract from Black people. They talk about the Koreans or the Jewish business owners or the Arab business owners in our community, not because they want there to be no exploitation in our community, economic exploitation. They bring these individuals up because they seek to replace them. They see those individuals as their competition. If someone comes to tell you, I'm not left or right, I'm not capitalist or socialist, they are a deceiver. That literally means I'm a hollow shell. I'm a hollow as fuck, and I want you to fill me up with your money. So when you really dissect his arguments and his methods, it's purely to say there should be a class of Black people who replace the other people who exploit us. So we want to go into business and get entrenched in these we want to take over this economic niche. We want to take over this economic niche. That's why they ignore the wealth gap and the economic exploitation of Asians amongst Asians, Jewish people amongst Jewish people, Arab oligarchs and the Arab masses, because they don't care about that economic exploitation. They're only saying that it's not fair that non-African people are wedged in a position to exploit African economics. So, I mean, in all honesty, if you take off the veil of giving a fuck, which he demonstrates he don't really give a fuck, if you take off that veil, that cover, you really see that most of these individuals are trying to replace are these parasites. They're trying to displace these people, and they don't want to upend the system. He's not a socialist. He's not a leftist. How? What?
He's a solutionist. He's a solutionist.
He's a propagandist. He's a propagandist. And you're like, listen, there's no solution in the left or the right, socialism or capitalism. Then what does that leave besides him? Besides him. And if you really agree with Marx's critique of capitalism, but you're not anti-capitalist, then that makes you a bad person. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That was I would like to believe that this is Geechee's clever editing tricks and camera tricks. That this is somehow Geechee able to splice his words together. But I think Geechee did him a service to represent his views and highlight. Those were good highlights of his position. But there's been too many times. We have too many examples. And then finally, for him to bring up the Rothschilds and talk about $1 trillion black corporations, but he's not a capitalist. When literally all of your solutions not only lead people towards capitalism, but fully depend on maintaining capitalism. I mean, the Rothschilds with Chevrons. So he thinks that the Rothschilds are wealthy because they had strong family values, as opposed to they were financing and directly benefiting from global imperialism and genocidal hyper exploitation, colonization, resource extraction. He's going to just say, nope, it's the strong family values. And black people, we can just have family values and not engage in any other parasitic imperialistic practices of the true trillionaires and billionaires and millionaires. So we can do capitalism. We can out Pope the Pope. We can out Muhammad, and we can out Adam Smith.
By the way, that was an accident. I didn't mean to. I just meant to load the video.
There is no way. I agree. I thought
ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way we can have $1 trillion companies and not
ain't no way, boy.
Allies.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
So yeah, there is actually some work that he did with another person, and it's titled "On Government Programs That Increase Small Firms Access to Capital," and it's like some type of study in South Africa, supposedly. But it talked about how the government is heavily involved in the success or failure of investing in small businesses, right? And so this idea of he knows for a fact you need a certain type of capital to be successful in business. So when he says Jared is talking whatever, and what does it mean that we don't have money? We just need hope. He himself would disagree with that, according to his work. And so even when you're just looking through his little catalog, he has this book out, How Black People Thrive in a Capitalist Society. And also in that video, he's saying all of us ain't gonna make it. There's gonna be a few of us, just the people who listen to me and Claude Anderson. That's about it. And so again, the idea is like he don't even have a solution for the collective of African people, which Jared is arguing to push, the conversation towards. But yeah, so the things that he's supposedly disagreeing with, he's not even fully disagreeing.
I haven't read this 3-page tome,
but just the opening,
a deep dive analysis. I mean, I know he said we should read Marx, but he does say so. These papers, first, he said these papers are linked in 3 ways. First, they both question the role that government can and should play in the development of small business. Second, they further study the link between small business subsidies and overall economic growth. Finally, assuming that government intervention is effective, they attempt to determine the most efficient allocation of scarce government resources. So it does seem to the comment addresses 2 interesting research projects in the field. The papers under discussion are Bradford. So they're not his papers. He's discussing the work of others at this conference. Apparently, it looks like these are proceedings that were published. But to your point, he seems to be, at least in 2007, acknowledging. But this is still when he was employed by the white man's university, so he hadn't fully broken.
the one he
who
don't
he no
ally.
longer wants to ally with. So it's important that he remind us that he got a degree from there and learned or taught there and studied under, I forgot this man's name, but it's also important that he distanced himself from them so that he can serve the people by charging them for work he could be giving them for free while taking resources from a more well-funded hostile institution. But the point I'm getting, I'm sorry, long form to get, is that he's seemingly in 2007 largely agreeing with one of the arguments I'm making, which is that this claim that buying power and black capitalism is self-sufficiency, autonomy, and sovereignty is really just a call for government, and probably should be a call for government assistance, because that's how all businesses thrive. Okay.
Also in that report, so he is a point where he's talking about the difference between legal formal firms and economically formal firms. And the economically formal firms are those possessing institutionalized processes that are more likely to lead to profitability. So he tells you the businesses that are connected to institutions, or i.e. the government, are the ones that are going to be more profitable, and the government choose those businesses based on their knowing that they're going to be profitable. So for instance, if your ass got a barbershop, which most of, again, a lot of the businesses, you're not about to get no government incentives and grants and stuff, and your wealth is not going to grow like the ones that will. And so again, the arguments, even when I put another link in it, even this link, his 10 crack commandments, or his 10 ways to build wealth, like, it's literally to people who people who don't read, people who've probably never studied any other things, and they depended on this guy with this white institution title to be able to be legit. So it's I think, I don't know what page he's down to the bottom, but is that it? Oh, keep on.
Yeah, so by the way, never mind the work of his that I've already cited in the Buying Power book, but I've now read more from him than he clearly has of any of my work just already.
There you go, right there.
So the 10 commandments of black
let's
economic empowerment.
Let's let Diallo debate against the 10 ways that black
all
people.
Right, so number one, never get all of your income from one source. Most people choose a job by asking themselves one simple question: how much money am I going to make? So by choosing a career path solely on how much money you'll make, you're missing the vast majority of all the benefits that come from choosing the right career. So multiple sources of income. Number two, never go through life without adequate training and education. Running away from education effectively means that you're running right towards slavery. Okay, but I thought we're not supposed to get PhDs, because I thought.
Stay tuned. Once you get to number 10, he's going to contradict himself.
All right. Number three, never allow yourself to become addicted to money. Don't become addicted to money. Number four, never allow your self-esteem to be contingent upon validation from predominantly white institutions. One way that black people are consistently hypnotized by racist institutions is that we somehow concluded that we are more worthy than black people if white people like us. Number five, avoid allowing yourself to go deep into debt. All right. Number six, always save your money. Well, that would destroy the economy, but okay. Number seven, always think like an investor. Investing doesn't always relate to money. In fact, it rarely does. The most valuable resources we have in our lives relate to things that are non-financial: our health, happiness, freedom, relationships. All right. Number eight, find a way to own something. A small business or even a website. Own something that belongs to you. Number nine, never allow yourself to be infected with the disease of laziness. Laziness. Number 10, choose your mate and family situation wisely.
He got 11 too somewhere.
He got an 11. So the 10 commandments have an 11th. Avoid the legal system if at all possible. The legal, educational, and healthcare systems in America are the biggest financial drains. All right, so get an education, save your money, own something, and stay out of trouble. Don't get sick and don't get arrested.
Diallo, can you get wealth off of those or no? I mean, that's what y'all trying to say.
None of those things lead to wealth. Not one of them. I mean, there's some good advice there. There's some inane or irrelevant positions there, but none of that leads to wealth. How did she connect any of that to wealth? Because you can do all those things. I know many people that do all those things and don't have wealth. So how are those going to lead to wealth?
To be fair, the title of the piece is just
multiple
economic
streams
empowerment.
of income.
It's not
but I thought it was
building.
the 10 Commandments of
yeah,
it's
10 Commandments of Black economic empowerment. So he could be defining that.
Again, okay, fine. How does it lead to economic empowerment?
You will be, well, one of the things he did say was, it's not all about money. He says, what's one thing Black people think of, one thing that you will do that you won't stop doing or you won't sell out for no type of money? He says, my afternoon naps are so important to me. You can't buy me out of that. So if he said you focus on things like your afternoon naps, eventually you become wealthy.
Then you get fired. I mean, listen, the whole thing, I think Diallo, look, I to your point about the pop-up earlier this week, I've never, I even said this to Boyce on Twitter. This is, I think, however I phrase it, this is, I think, the most disingenuous act I've ever experienced this directly, or that I can remember in this way. Like, I don't remember anybody being, there's this singular, like the epitome of treachery in my, at my workplace, but that I still hold as a separate category from this. I've never quite experienced something like this fake call out. I'm not reading your work. I'm going to use it to raise money and promote my classes, and then I'm going to come back with this, oh, he's trying to beef with me, and I'm just trying to stay above that, you know. By the way, that's what he that's what he told Jabari a couple years ago when he came to Baltimore, and Jabari tried to set up the debate. And it's this idea that if you say I disagree with you, that somehow I'm beefing like a rapper. I mean, come on, my guy. I'm saying read the work you're criticizing, as he sits up there like I ain't read it.
But did you catch him trying to make it seem like you would be argued with him for clout? Because like when he talked about that beef, and he was like, you don't have to basically beef with me to get seen or something like that. But he literally,
well, it's similar to what I've said to people who criticize me for this, just even after the show we did this the other day. On the one hand, this is, well, specific to what happened in terms of this week, whether it's Boyce directly misrepresenting my work or just in general, the mythology circulating, that's the point. So it's not me looking to beef or to keep the thing going. It's that my work is a response to the recirculation and the permanence, the persistence of the mythology. So that's the point. And yeah, I mean, to whatever, I mean,
he's a propagandist. What I see saturating his work, this notion, even in his list and what he said in the video, this notion of being of high moral character, having a high rate of personal discipline, strong family values, like the Rothschilds, is the source. And this is what the elites have been telling the peasants for centuries. That my wealth is not a product of exploitation. My wealth is not a product of theft. Don't be the disease of laziness. You can earn $1 billion. You can work to earn. If you're not lazy, you can earn. And he is, like I said, he's a propagator of myths. He's a propagator of myths, and he doesn't seek to unseat the parasites. He seeks to replace them. That's it's just the bottom line. And even people in the comments are talking about Black businesses are different than white businesses. Like, if we could get Black businesses in the community, then they'll behave differently than the white businesses have behaved in our community.
I think so like I told y'all before, when I was coming up, I did attend some seminary courses, and one of the first classes that they taught was homiletics. And it's like pretty much the art of preaching and how to like do call and responses and turn to your neighbor and all that shit like that. And I mean, he does that through the whole joint, along with having his, he said, how black women and men can get free, invest. And he called his wife in the space, and his wife is saying some stuff. And I mean, I remember Dr. Mayat's interview. He said, if you put me in a room with 10 black people who've gotten past their traumas and deal with their internal shit, I can show you how to make $1 million. But then again, his idea is when you don't make $1 million, it's your trauma. Just as well as the preacher said, when your ass don't get what you get, it's because you ain't tithing enough or you still sinning or whatever. So, I mean, he literally running the plays of homiletic preaching. And I mean, like you said, the people are mostly connected to his celebrity, and his celebrity came via him being on CNN and all these other places, like he said, but then also being able to, like your boy Tariq Nasheed and like Umar, we're going to talk about. There's something, right? I think we know this, obviously, but there's something that these people had a capacity to do, to come in and just pretty much act like the place is there. So this supposedly conscious community, nobody is asking questions, nobody digging or searching or grilling a person. There's no process of, I guess vetting to see if they're for the people, and that's it. Like they in and then they stay. But I think Boyce in particular, I think he's losing that, or he lost that, and he's trying to get it back now. And I think this is his second lap around the block, kind of like Jay Morrison. Because Jay Morrison lost it, and now you see him grappling for straws. And it seems like Boyce doing that same thing. Because when I was in that chat, I saw it live. I actually, how people come in this chat and we call them haters, and they whatever. I felt that way in the damn chat. Like it was like three people who kept commenting, and I'm like, ain't nobody listening to me, and they think I'm coming here to whatever, and I'm literally asking him about the words he's literally saying right now. But it didn't seem like it was a lot of people live there commenting. And then I think in terms of like the comments afterwards, I didn't even go see. A lot of times those be people who are literally saying stuff like, oh yeah, you got to believe and stuff like that. But also, like Willie D posts, I think sometimes Boyce posts get the same response where people are like, well, maybe you need to read his book. So maybe you got a larger fan base or supporters or readers than you think. But it seems like people are also coming into, or at least on Instagram, coming into asking them more questions or telling them.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of that, and honestly, I am humbled and impressed by the responses. I mentioned it the other day, but he almost, I would say, at least from my view of it, it feels like well over 90% of the responses to him on Twitter and Instagram are critical. And it's even the ones that attempt to be favorable are saying, like one I saw last night was saying, I'm a Dr. Boyce supporter, but I got to check out what you're saying, and I was like, okay, that's at minimum my point. But that's the most defense I've seen him get, or support, quote unquote, that I've seen him get. So you might be all right. You might be right on that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Many of these gurus and these individuals, such as Watkins, they engage in what's called grafting, or what I call it. They graft onto the pre-existing indoctrination. So if our oppressors have created a multi-billion-dollar systems of indoctrination through media, through educational institutions, and through the status quo and culture, it is much easier to have a presence and to get into a leadership status if you simply play off of that existing indoctrination as opposed to challenging it. Things such as U.S.'s exceptionalism or patriotism, the wealth, family values, patriarchy, theology or religion. There are certain predispositions, and when you find an individual who's coming to tell you, well, I can get you wealth through this unique, special way, and even personal liberty or individualism. And they say, well, you don't have to really make any fundamental ideological or institutional changes. We can leave this entire network the way it is and elevate within it and maneuver through it while leaving the infrastructure intact. So that it's never worked, number one. Number two, even if it did work, you're a winner and a loser at the same time. Or as Del Jones said, we lose so much we don't know what a victory looks like. So imagine a world with $1 trillion Black businesses. Would it look that much different than a world with $1 trillion white businesses? Imagine every year there's 2 more brand new Black billionaires. Does it really look any different than a world with new and emerging white billionaires? Imagine a world with a Black president of the United States. Would it really look? So that's at least one of the things that many people that I know personally thought they would never see, and we had a chance to see that come to fruition. So we are the true believers. That's probably one of the greatest insults, that or no, I wouldn't say it was insult, but one of the most scathing critiques that John Henry Clark leveled against us as a people. We are the true believers. We really believe we can do capitalism better than the people who imposed it on us. Do it more humanely, ecologically, fairly.
Can I just show quickly, because Diallo, you actually hit right on, and this is something I even downplay when I talk about the book, my own work. But this research that I cited here, the continued influence effect. In 2 experiments, we showed that pre-existing attitudes co-determine people's reliance on misinformation. And essentially what they're concluding is that if people have to, if new information forces you to change your underlying ideological beliefs, people reject it, even if they consciously recognize that the basis of their argument has been trashed. So it is a powerful. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm thinking this like as you listen to his joint, and he said he's not left, right? He's not left like those radicals and the communists. And
no, he's not with the black
one
left.
who acts like what? Okay, so what does those people want? And then for you to say that, oh, I believe everything that Marx said was correct. Okay, well, what did Marx say? Right? Because at the same time, you're saying like everybody can't make it there. We'll have to be poor people, right? And not all Black people going to be economically liberated. And as we even transition to like some of this Umar conversation, because the conversation was behind a paywall, and people who do pay for it, the clips that are coming to the front are all silly ass conversations. Like
you bunny hopped.
Yeah, bunny hopping. Vanessa Bryant should be supporting Black people, and just like that's the conversations that's the clips that you're seeing now. And so it shows you that the people who follow these people, there are things that they follow these people and look for them to say. Like any other things that could be usable or be critiqued or held accountable. Like they're not, I mean, I can ask a voice follower anything about what did he say about communism or socialism or whatever. They wouldn't know, and they wouldn't even desire to ask. Like, okay, so what people?
But I do need to let folks. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I need to let folks know that you selected these Chiron titles, and they're gonna get us all dragged for the. But
like I said, long as he's the one down there.
Right, exactly. Put him next to the thing. Exactly. That's why I left him down there.
Yes,
but did you see the That's messed up.
I respect. I got a new technique, so I'll be fine. I respect Dr. Umar. That's all you got to say before you and then just tear into it.
Right. Did you see the promo for the Budden interview where Joe Budden is saying,
I send it to you.
Man,
I'll pay you every month.
We got to pay him every month to come back.
Yeah.
I said, so that's one part of this. And we talked about it. It's been a while. It should come back again. But podcast payola. Like people are getting paid, and sometimes relatively big bags of money. Did you see how Cam dropped $500,000 on Mark Jackson to get him to be a regular commenter on their show? There's this money is, and it's all the betting, the gambling money, the gambling platforms that are sponsoring all this. Obviously the YouTube algorithm. I mean, there's it's. So yeah, so the Prince of Panhandling or Prince of Pan-Africanism is King Kong of consciousness, which is my favorite of his nicknames, is money. I mean, he drives numbers.
Bar.
So I recorded it on my phone and sent it in the chat. Can you pull that small clip up
from in the chat
from WhatsApp? But pretty much is actually it's on Joe Budden's Twitter.
But where's again, where these links, man?
Actually,
the
links,
links, man.
The link right now.
There's too much. First of all this building in these WhatsApp chats and Signal chats, I can't keep. I mean, it's how do you?
Go ahead, Diallo.
Wait, is this? I got it. Oh wait, you talking about the promo video?
Yeah, because that's what he said that I pay you for this shit every month. Because again, like I would love to see.
Can you hear this? I don't think you can hear it. Can you hear that?
No.
Don King consciousness.
Because you can't play it through WhatsApp. You can only play it through Chrome.
Hold on. Yeah, let me get it off.
No, I can't get it to turn off here. So you got to send it into the chat here so I can play it off the computer. I can try to do it that way. But where you got to find it so that we can here we go.
Officially the longest podcast interview I've ever done.
You might be officially our longest.
Because we hit 5 hours?
We 4.5. 4.5.
And yo, I hate to tell you, we can still rock for another hour and a half.
And this whole time, I was like, yo, I pay this nigga to come back every month. This is gold.
Yeah, so I don't know if those paywalls, Patreon or whatever, if it's public information for you to see how much people paid, I think it's just they only get to see it. So I don't know if you can do it publicly, but I'll be curious how much they made just off of people paying to watch it on before.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure they're again, relatively speaking, making good money, and the most popular clip that I did see floating around, although I don't know where it is anymore, is the one where it's the whole bunny hopping thing, and which, you got the white, the white, and it's always wild to me to watch. The most disturbing one I've ever seen personally was when Paul Robeson Jr. got into it with Cynthia McKinney's father, and did the same thing with his wife right there, which I thought was. It's so weird and crazy where he did the whole thing of, this is my Jewish wife. We can build together, whatever. They're not all Jews or this, that, and the third. And I'm like, why would you? And the dude was doing the same thing, like my white girl and it's just this weird defense where you put your partner on the line like that in an attempt to defend a relationship that, if you believe in it, shouldn't require defense in the first place, certainly in that context. So it's just a weird thing when I watch those exchanges, like the anecdotal self-reference to family and loved ones, almost inviting a personal critique, and I just never like any of that. But it just looks bad.
That was Umar's line for saying, after he said that, he said, this is why you know that you're liberal. You're liberal because you have a white.
Because you have a white, right? You have a white partner. So how could you be concerned about blackness and the black community? And however, if you want to defend yourself against Umar or anyone else, I think there's ways to do it without. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I don't really know but it just seems weird to me to get into an argument with somebody about your partner and making reference to, again, not just talking about interracial relationships broadly speaking, or your own personal political positions. It's this whole thing of, well, look at my partner, and therefore it's just I don't know. I'm not being very clear. It's just weird to me. It's really what I'm saying. It was just weird.
Yeah,
but the bunny hopping line was, I mean, it's a funny line. I think it's a funny line.
Somebody said that Dr. Umar is engaging in some honest truth. Diallo, would you?
Well, Kwame Ture said a half truth is more dangerous than a full lie. I think that Umar is a palatable representation of what the masses or the mainstream think Pan-Africanism or modern Black militancy should be. I think that throughout his public career or his public life, he is a living, walking meme and a caricature, someone that you can't take seriously, but you can get some good insights from. But again, you have to wade through ankle deep or waist deep pile of shit to get to the gym. But I think Umar is palatable because he fits well into the mainstream outlook. I think that his ambitions for Black people don't threaten the status quo or challenge or even condemn the status quo. Dr. Umar is a right-wing reactionary. His critiques of the system are surface, and mostly performative, talking about, this snow bunny stuff or just the scamming and like he said, he's the King Kong consciousness. Like I said, I think he's Don King consciousness. And he has been successful in putting himself and wedging himself in that. And I think that the fact that so many people, he comes here to speak and just recently I'm finding that he's a theocrat. He's arguing for theocracy in the Black community, and everybody's sharing his assertions about the role of the Black church and what the Black church should do for the larger Black community, which is literally theocracy. Someone just sent me that. So every single time, every single time he pops out with these assessments, I think you have people who understand there's a fundamental problem. And Dr. Fubar, whom I respect, is much like Minister Farrakhan, whom I respect, in that they give the surface appearance of lashing out and speaking against entrenched institutional oppression and problems. But when you begin to really sit or try to engage with their so-called solutions or really follow their solutions to their ultimate conclusions, you'll find that even the full implementation of what they advocate pretty much leaves you where you started. So it's all this aggression, it's all this huffing and puffing, but ultimately what they advocate really would lead to a validation and an entrenchment of unjust hierarchies and systems of exploitation. So Dr. Fubar, whom I respect, I think is really should be called out at every opportunity.
When we both got sent that clip of him talking about the church, my response was to send the James Foreman Black Manifesto, and I just was asking, what does Dr. Umar think about this, given that it seems like a more progressive version of what Umar was suggesting that the church do in terms of sharing its resources. But I did find this clip where someone has pulled some of the audio, at least from the exchange between these two on Buttons podcast. We could check out just a little bit of it, at least.
Manager that he hired to come in here and clean this motherfucking apartment. Joe might not know who the fuck cleans this
Something
apartment.
just hit me. Shoot. Are you mixed race?
No.
Or you a bunny hopper?
Yes. Per your
that's why you have a liberal
that's
perspective.
Not true. That's not
because you go home
that's
to a
not
white
true.
woman.
Yes, but that's not true. I felt this way before I met my white girlfriend.
So help me understand how you can be so passionate about the Black.
I'm passionate. I'm an objective thinker. I don't. If something makes sense.
So you have no loyalty to the Black community.
No, I do have. I probably employ more Blacks than you.
Okay, so help me understand that you employ more Blacks than me, but you go home to a white woman. Why you don't have a Black woman?
Because I fell in love with a white woman, not a black
Why didn't you fall in love with a black woman?
I fell in love with a black woman. We broke up.
Okay, and why didn't you fall in love with another black woman?
I did that too. We broke up.
Okay. And why didn't you get another one and another one and another one until you found the right one?
Because I met a white woman that I fell in love with, and that's the person that
And
I'm
you're
with
being
today.
disingenuous about
That's
something.
not true.
And let me tell you what you're being disingenuous about.
True.
Romance is a function of focus and opportunity. If I want to date an Asian, I'm going to put myself around Asian women so I can find one. If I want to date a Latino, I'm going to put myself around Latino women so I can date one. If you wanted to marry a black woman, you would have put yourself around black women so you can find one. So how did you end up with the Caucasian? No disrespect to her.
No, not at all. What I'm telling you is the places that I go socially are not just monolithic.
So what? I went to a white college, white job. I never bunny hopped.
Listen to my question. Let me answer you. That wasn't my priority. My priority wasn't, I'm not closed off to dating Latino women. I'm not closed off to dating Asian women. I'm not closed off to dating white women. So again, in my search for romance, all of those things were on the table.
But you do understand that by not being with a black woman, you undermine the success of the black community.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. Then tell me how the black community benefits from you having a white woman.
If I lend to the financial uplifting of that community, one. That's one thing. Two, if I'm helping to educate the people in that particular community, that's a benefit.
Does not your white woman benefit more from your economics than any black person?
Yeah, probably.
Exactly.
So why can't they both be mutually beneficial?
You want to know why? Because she belongs to the group that is responsible for the historical oppression of your race. So why would you voluntarily go over and marry into that? Because when you marry the woman, you don't just marry the woman or date the woman. You're dating her community and her culture. And given the history of us and them, why would you dare align yourself with that if you care about us?
Let me ask you a question. I want you to let me get my answers out.
Go ahead.
So hypothetically,
Nah, that's so for the owls in the chat with the Hood. Ish is the light-skinned brother on Joe podcast, and the other voices, Umar, and the lady who keep helping Ish is Melissa Ford. But again, like all those clips are just like that. It's either that one, the Kobe Bryant clip with Vanessa Bryant should be donating to black people. She's not helping black people with Kobe's money, black money. Kobe wouldn't have done that even if he was here. She's doing the same thing he would have done.
Why I'm sorry.
But then I think there's a small clip where he's talking about ADOS because I saw Yvette Carnell sharing and said let me talk about it. He don't know because I guess she want to go on Joe Budden next to clear up.
Of course, and she probably gonna get there.
Go ahead, Diallo.
What's Dr. Fubar, whom I respect? What's Dr. Fubar's relationship status?
I don't know if he's with.
I thought he had two wives. We watched the video of it where he had two.
That was
married two
cosplay.
women.
That was.
But yeah, if he had two wives, he wouldn't go met Sukiyana, so he don't got two wives.
Why can't you have two wives and meet Sukiyana?
They have three wives. I mean,
answer that question so I can go explain it to my wife. Why? Why not?
I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying. I'm just saying it doesn't prevent.
My bad.
There's nothing that would prevent. And there's nothing in
the. I don't know if y'all know a common thread with these two brothers on these two old brothers with grade. When I talk about strip club, they lose their shits. Now I'm talking about Sukiyana.
Vegan strip club.
Y'all want to tell me something? Y'all want to share something?
I ain't got nothing for no strip club. You put vegan on something, that's how you catch me.
I just want to make sure y'all.
Literally the last time I was in the strip club, I ran into Mayor Barry. Sitting with
Marion Barry,
Mayor Marion Barry, who I will always refer to as Mayor Barry.
And I
he was sitting there, had one on his lap and one standing behind him. And when I said, "What's up, Mayor Barry?" And he looked at me like I was interrupting something. So he just nodded and I kept it moving. So that's the last time. But no, my only point was if you're already engaged in polygamy, it seems like adding a third or having a relationship with a third or a fourth wouldn't be that. I'm not advocating and I'm certainly not participating. It was just a question. Maybe. But I do want to at least say this. I do think relationships are political, and I do think that people have a lot of conscious choices that can or are made, can be or are made in terms of who they end up with. I've talked about it myself. I've made consciously political decisions about this. So that part of his argument I do agree with. I just think that's sort of my point. If the brother wanted to defend his position, I think it's better to do it on the sort of the objective politics of it as opposed to I felt this. I was already betraying the black community before I got my white. Like it's like that whole guy or my white. Like I just was like, why would you? Yeah.
It's one thing. I think Dr. Umar,
and he has
I
a
don't
daughter
know
apparently. Sorry,
I think Dr. Fubar, whom I respect, benefits greatly from the short memory span. The meme and news cycle culture in the United States. He is engaged in, especially in the context of relationships. I haven't forgot when he went online and doxed his baby mama and his baby mama's mother, and told his supporters to go to their place of business and asked them why he can't see his daughter.
Yeah, I remember that.
And told strangers to go and engage his wife and the mother of his wife, and told them about their intimate and personal
I remember
issues.
That. Yeah, it was rough.
No, he didn't.
And I recall when he went online,
PG level editing.
No, that was rough. I remember that.
And he said, "Listen, this is the address."
He was live,
and he said, "This is her name. Now go in there and ask the mother." He said this to the whole internet. And if you ever engage face to face with the Umar, like an enthusiastic Umar supporter, they're not people you want showing up at your place of business or home, to debate issues related to Umar. But he said, ask them why I can't see my daughter. Go find her mother and ask her mother why she interfering in our relationship. What Umar advocates for and what Umar advances is right-wing reactionary conservative, and he went from protecting us from the gay agenda to protecting us from snow bunnies, and he jumps from issue to issue, collected $700,000 from the black community and called us trifling for failing to get him to $1 million.
He did. Now that one I saw. He did blame, and he blamed that other the conscious stripper, for costing $1 million. Remember, the conscious stripper was her name, right?
Was she vegan?
I don't know.
She ain't conscious then.
But
yeah,
but that's just because you both are gynocentric bunny hoppers. That's why you. That's why.
Listen, I don't know what Diallo talking about. Umar is a master teacher, and he has a master student who gives us.
He's a mass debater. He goes around debating a lot of different people.
Teacher, and we about to listen to
he's
some
a
history
mass
from a master
debater.
student.
He goes around and debates various. He's a mass debater.
Well,
I've actually not ever seen him in an actual debate. I've seen him in the beef here or there, but not an actual.
He has debate. I did watch.
Well, that's beefing is debating. Stop it.
Oh, okay.
He's the Don King consciousness, whom I respect.
So apparently, this guy, Master Builder, Black told me that he always makes some bad history takes. I never heard of the guy, but I did see somebody did send me this. In line,
Dr. Umar went from unseen to seen.
What'd you say?
Well, I was just reading the title here. How Dr. Umar went from unseen to seen, and for whatever anyone might think about, whatever people might think about the history here, I think it does outline, interestingly, at least an issue for me.
The role to Griff.
So just relatively quickly, the Black conscious community has existed since the 1920s. I don't know why this is the arbitrary start time for a conscious community. The American Negro Academy was 1890 something. Just if we want to, I don't know what, but okay. But it was the underground movement.
I think it's Garvey.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people.
Okay.
The RBG. I think that's because that's what the era they associate with Garveyism. Just my speculation.
All right, that's all right. But with all due respect to Garvey, there was a pre-Garvey, So that's right. Okay,
and a post. I'm a post Garvey. Trying to say why somebody was started in 1920s. Wasn't none of us there then. I mean, but I guess.
But it was the underground movement of Black conscious thought leaders. The
court's top thought leader.
Who were teaching Black knowledge that the Black church did not teach, and even most Black Americans did not have access to this knowledge. So let's build. So starting with that, historically, I see your point. So that's right. The Black conscious movement has never been loved by mainstream media, and they never supposed to be. Too radical. There's Garvey. and the Moorish Science Temple. Then the Nation of Islam flew under the radar for decades, but when they got a young charismatic leader like Malcolm X, they began to be put on the radar. Malcolm was loud and he was not afraid of the camera, and he was scaring the world when even some Black Americans were not used to the Black conscious community. Malcolm put the NOI on the public radar, and they became a target as a threat. The Hate That Hate produced, 1959 CBS series featuring Mike Wallace that, of course, backfired historically. The intention was always to make Malcolm look like the one that nobody was supposed to be supporting, but Black people responded very differently, and popularized the nation. Malcolm became a celebrity. He was never supposed to be that. He was supposed to be on mission of healing people without being seen by the masses, but he starts liking the camera so much that he becomes a star instead of being a teacher to the people. He's seen
when you get the Black Panthers, stop when you get the Black Panthers.
Okay. So now the group is seen. One person that that I thought we would have seen that actually predates Garvey is Carlos Cooks, and Carlos Cooks had an explicit call from his organization that they would not give interviews to the white press. They would not engage the press at all. So I see at least some of the logic here in terms of this critique of Malcolm, but not in agreement with it. I just see the logic of it. Malcolm later is now seen that he does interview dissing the president of the after the president was assassinated and after Elijah told him not to speak, but Malcolm can't help himself. I think this history is not recounted accurately either, but I don't, because there was something about the timing and something that.
What is this? Who is the master student? What is this?
I don't know this dude.
I don't know. Geechee sent this. The musician.
Oh, this is Geechee's ghost account.
This is
Diallo number one fan is the only one who has
he used to slide into the
Diallo's the only one to have ghost accounts, by the way. I'm just showing that, but keep going.
And what is this? MLK was an agent. The conspiracy is that Dr. King was an agent and was working with the higher ups to go against the Black conscious community and the uprising of the. So where's the information? Where's the proof of this? Because all the data suggests that he was a threat.
Right.
Why are we reviewing this?
I don't know. Geechee made us do this, and then.
Stop there.
All right.
So
go ahead.
Real quick. So oftentimes these type of threads or links or whatever comes from people who you might be talking to about something, and then they feel like, oh, they research or they find something that they think that you are saying. So they'll send it to you and be like, what do you think about this? And then there's always this idea of like you shitting on their dreams and discouraging them from looking further, whatever the case may be. So it's like this dangerous propaganda that comes from somebody who believes that there is and they represent the conscious community. And then even when you look at this Black Panther thing, and what I like to do is try to find at least a couple points that I would like have them look further into. And so on this page in particular, they're very heavy on saying that the Black Panther Party was robbing people. They was robbing and shooting the police, in particular. But
what?
I'm just saying. So in particular, like none of the times, what I would point out is like, just like in North Carolina, High Point, North Carolina, where Fantasia them from, and just around the country, how police was literally going in and pushing Black Panthers out of the communities because of their political line, their objectives and activities, right? And so when one is talking about this vaguely conscious community, what I would tell the people who sharing this is, okay, well, whoever these, because one thing they also doing is conflating all these people as if they got the same politics. So Umar and King and all these other people. And I'm saying, so if there's a conscious community and you talking about this person represents a conscious community, then I would like to know, what do you think that they are focused on empowering people to do, organizing to do, or mobilizing around what? And when you get in there, you can have the conversation. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that you spend time talking to somebody like a master student per se, but there are people who engage a master student or Umar or Boyce or Charleston because they think that they are saying or come to the same conclusions that we have.
It's because
read, beloved.
The master student gets a D-, and he doesn't get an F because he does suss out some good images of many of our ancestors.
You give him.
I just want to know where we got the Fantasia reference from. That came out of nowhere.
But this ultimately concludes and explains to us how Dr. Umar went to seen unseen. What did he eventually?
Oh, we got Patrice Lumumba in here.
Oh, damn.
So what does
he became too seen with his Pan-African ideologies, and he was
But it
taken
says
out.
how he went from unseen to seen.
How Umar went from unseen to seen, yeah. Then the Black conscious community thrived in what I call the golden era. So many great teachers. And folks have been really, I mean, please, folks who have been coming at me with the Clark was wrong and Jupp was wrong. I need some books and some links. Please just stop telling me they were wrong and send me some work. I know
What was he wrong about?
I've been getting a lot of stuff about Jupp and Charles Finch in particular being wrong on the African origins of Egypt and misunderstanding the African origins of religion, of Christianity and Judaism, and just it feels like a lot lately. But none of them come with books or links or articles, or they're just telling me I'm wrong. So that's why I just thought I'd throw that in there real quick.
But I think that's my point, Jared. So real quick, the Fantasia reference was I was talking about, I think this person who shared it was from North Carolina or South Carolina. I was telling them about, you can learn about the history of Black Panthers in places like High Point, North Carolina. But just like in High Point, North Carolina, where Fantasia is from, things like Panthers being pushed out of their apartments because of their political line, their politics, those things were happening more so than it's just, they going around robbing people and shooting people and all the shit like that. What I'm saying is they're not intentionally talking about their politics. So even as you're talking about French, what I like to do in terms of this broad conscious community, when you're talking about your ancestors or people who are leader, again, what type of issues are they organizing around? What are they mobilizing around? I think there you can kind of like, for instance, when you ask people, what do Umar organize around? What is he trying to push people into doing? And I'm not sure you're not going to get more other than like, you should just marry a Black queen.
Which I don't think he's managed to do yet.
I think he's married to 2, Diallo.
I mean, but still,
he may not have followed the white man's laws and regulations.
They're unseen.
They're unseen.
Well, and I'm saying he gotta be. Man, I'm not. I don't think the Black family is the solution and all that shit. I don't fetishize the Black family or commodify the Black family. But for someone who does, you would think he should put up or shut up. He's looking under everybody else's comforters. But I think once you start to look under other people's comforters, you should pull back your own.
But I also think like conflating these two. So it's almost like the same line of like the hidden colors, and they'll put these people in a space like Francis Quest and all these other people, and then very few people, and like we talked about on the pop-up, very few people can argue their politics, their objective, their lines from their work, as opposed to saying like, Francis Quest, she was wrong.
What percentage? For critics or supporters, what percentage of Cress Welsing supporters or critics have read even just the ISIS papers? Do you think? What percentage of I think it's always pretty low.
I think ISIS paper. I think more people have it than read it, but
that's what I mean.
30%. A lot of penises in that book.
I know
it's a lot.
That's what I do. Everything is a penis.
Listen.
The Christmas tree is a penis.
I would say 30.
But then you mess around and read Ori's book, and it's like, man, she might have been more right than wrong, man. These fools is crazy. They are crazy.
We talked about that at a study group. So, but I think it's interesting to see. But I would line with Ani. I would remember Ani's line more in terms of why they do the things that they do. But I probably would disagree with both of them at some point, but whatever, it don't matter. The point is,
right? They're women scholars. They don't matter.
Read Cress Welsing.
We about to drop the link. We about to drop the link.
That Cress was correct. Okay,
we dropping the link in a second, but go ahead.
What link?
For somebody to come lay out that she was correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not even so okay. So let's just finish with the thread here. Many teachers of the conscious community. So I was curious because it seems like he's saying Malcolm was desperate for the spotlight, but Minister Farrakhan, though speaking at the Madison Square Garden, not quite as bad. But though he does say many, or they say, I'm not sure the judge, many teachers in the conscious community do not like this about Minister Farrakhan. They think he wants to be a star instead of a teacher. Many
He's
teachers
a minister.
Many teachers begin to bang on Farrakhan. They see him as someone who is just now the conscious community. Cites Clark here.
We make them millionaires, give them stretch limousines, and they spit on us. That's right. I'm saying that we have to reward true and honest leadership. I do not believe that any program for African people can afford to leave out Pan-Africanism.
Farrakhan got more famous through media, rap music. Farrakhan embraced rappers, Big Daddy Kane, and then people making fun of what is it? What's my man?
Yeah, that was hysterical. That was
the
hysterical.
wrath of Farrakhan.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey was Captain Kirk in that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you don't remember that? Jim Carrey was Captain Kirk. Yeah.
The most honorable.
It was from Living Color. The Living Color.
No, I know.
Show.
I remember. I just don't remember that sketch per se. But Chuck D with Khalid
When he
Muhammad.
said, looking at the back of your nappy wig to your Lieutenant Uhuru and told her she should be
Hey, so I gotta say, I probably was in the audience for this Steve Coakley lecture, so I was like, "That looks real." I was caught up in all of that through the '90s.
But look, that's my point.
Earlier from '94, though, he was. Before
but having Steve Coakley next to Bobby is rough.
That's
not that Bobby Herman.
No, I got you. Yep.
Oh,
no, you're right. They're throwing everybody in everybody's
because it's all the same. It's all
the same. It's all the same. And then they go straight to Side Net. My bad, I ain't being loud. Side Netter. And then they went and then Polite. And
oh yeah, I remember when
the Breakfast Club.
Money.
Brother Poe Redditor.
Pro Redditor, exactly. Oh, he got like Side Netter's up there. Like he threw all like Dr. Sebi and Lisa Left Eye. So everybody's just
anybody black that says anything.
And then it culminates here,
don't
but
be upset if you pop up in this.
I thought that was Genie.
That's all over.
No, this is it. But in the 2010s, it's also a new face of consciousness that's quickly rising in the conscious community as one of the most charismatic. He's a Pan-African. He's a child psychologist. He has a great delivery. He's likable. He's about to rise from the unseen to the seen. And that's Umar.
3 days and you don't ask one question of a child or a teacher. That's insane.
Yes, sir.
But it's been happening so long in the hood. It's normal. Right. What do you mean your daughter has been sexually molested by her big brother, her uncle, her father, and she's now pregnant by her grandfather? That is insane. Right. But it goes on so much in the black community today, it's normal.
The fuck? What black community he live in?
I was going to ask you all for help with that.
Y'all, Dr. Fumbar, whom I respect. Dr. Fumbar. I mean, and it's so funny where he wants to talk about protecting our children, especially from the gay agenda. But he often, when he travels, he speaks at churches and he thinks the churches should be a conduit for black politics, black economics, and all that. And I've yet to hear him speak about the epidemic of child exploitation and child abuse with coming out of the black church. You know, because he has a relationship with many of these ministers as he travels the world, engaging with his multitude of debates or mass debating.
So, what would y'all say to and or about this conscious community? Like, what has been your thoughts or definition of it or whatever? Like, what would y'all say to or about it? The conscious community.
Well, I think one of the points is that is what we've raised here already. That that there seems to be a lack of political clarity around who these folks are, what their politics are, what their traditions are, what legacies they represent, what are the politics in these radical traditions that are being represented in a variety of ways. But what I did appreciate about this thread is that it makes that point. It puts on display that point that people are not clear about the politics involved.
I don't think it does that on purpose, though.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I wasn't saying it did it on purpose, but
right.
I was just saying if we're gonna find some positive out of it, that's it. That there is this lack of clarity, a confusion of over, and by the way, there have been sisters in this too, by the way. There's none represented in this thing. This is all black men apparently, but all the black women who have been involved in this community.
I mean, if it wasn't for Francis Quest, there won't be no Tariq Nasheed because he pretty much used her.
I mean, everybody from Sharshi McIntyre to Marimba Ani to Barbara Wheeler to what's his name? Sister Soldier. You could have thrown all of these women in there. Yeah. Joan Morgan just ran into. Is that who you just said?
Toni Morrison.
Did you? Oh, Toni Morrison. Oh, I thought you said Joan Morgan. But she could be thrown in there too. If we throw, I mean, so that was one thing. Then the other thing that I thought was of value here is that point about the black community hating knowledge and turning on the Hotep. That is a complete confusion and conflation and a result of the problem, not because of this idea that black people are singularly, particularly disinterested in knowledge is absurd. It's that it's the confusion over what the differences are. So when Tariq does Hidden Colors, I think he does. I only saw, I think, part of one of them, but in all of the discussion or the clips I've seen, it seems as though I saw. Anyway, I think I've seen more than that, but is that it flattens all of the politics and the people involved. It suggests everybody's all the same, on the same page, that there are no differences. It leaves out threads of black radical traditions. And then because I think what has happened, I don't have proof for this part, but I think because the performance of black radicalism is popularized and fed into a community, encouraged into an already propagandized, targeted community, it leads to the backlash against the performance. So this backlash against the Hotep has, I think, more to do with the performance of people claiming to be radical than this we don't want knowledge argument. So that's the part I think is on display there. Yeah, go ahead.
Dale Jones gave a very clear example of what a community is, and specifically not a conscious community. He was speaking more broadly about the black community, and he says, there's certain features and characteristics you need in place, or structures even, before you can define something as a community. And he said, if you don't have those things in place, you don't have a community, you have a nigger factory. But the conscious community is more of a product of people's imagination or people's lack of engagement than it is of a functional community. Because within that community, the so-called community, I think anyone who expresses discontent with the status quo, or any black person that seeks to re-engage with our African lineage, our African roots, or certain characteristics, and they do that for a myriad of reasons. He has everything there from theocratic to atheist, through political to cultural to diet and health gurus, like Sabi. So any black person that's not basically a patriotic American Christian who eats McDonald's could be defined as conscious. You could be as simple as trying to engage in a diet, trying to eat a diet to prevent you from developing chronic disease, or you can be member of politically engage in a
voter registration drive. People just throw that title around flippantly because it doesn't. I do think we should cultivate a conscious community. But one thing that defines a community is the ability to define itself, define exactly what it is, and then as those definitions control what comes into and out of that community. You know, if you don't control who and what comes in or out, you're not in a community, you're in a colony.
Right.
One of the chief characteristics of having a defined space is being able to control what comes into and out of. You know, and a lot of times when we talk about the conscious community or even the Black community, we're just talking about populations that don't really have the characteristics of a community. And besides people through not even conscious, deliberate actions with themselves who have been placed together, who have been left to or designated to live in this area by other people. So I do think that community is important. I think we throw words like community around a lot. I do think that as Black people, we should consciously construct, defend, and preserve and advance a Black community. And I do think that we should construct a conscious community. But really, a conscious community is at this point a derogatory term. People often use consciousness, like you said, from Hotep, and characters like Dr. Fubar, whom I respect, do a lot to disparage it, which is why I think he is so popular and well received, because I think he represents the type of Black militancy, which I call empty militancy, the type of militancy and consciousness and pro-Blackness that we can get with. Like you said, you know, be an alpha, get you a Black woman on your arm, regardless of how you treat her or the quality of your relationship. It's best to have a low quality or even an abusive relationship with a Black woman than get with the snow bunny. You know, just these warped ideas of relationships and intimacy. So ultimately, if we should create and deliberately, because I do think we need a conscious community. But what they're talking about is he just created that this community doesn't exist in the real world. In that Twitter feed, that community was created purely out of his imagination, with him pulling in literally anyone that has a stance on almost anything, regardless of whether their stance even line up or resonate with one another. That's absurd.
So even in the comments, you can see people saying how funny he is, and you know, one thing that you might agree with him about. And I remember Safa used to say this thing of like, you don't have to continue to dance with the person that you brought to the dance, right? Meaning, if somebody bring you into consciousness, you don't have to stay there. You could outgrow them, you could move on or whatever. And so I think that leads to this idea of like, what are y'all thoughts in terms of the limitations of artists, entertainers, and celebrities, right? So Umar has a interesting delivery. And sometimes I think a lot of us say that I was brought into consciousness or I was made aware by this person, right? So be it an Amos Wilson, whoever. And so what are y'all? And then also this too, in the chat the other day, we was talking about, I think, conscious hip hop or whatever the case may be. And they always talk about how the new age hip hop versus the other hip hop and entertainers or whatever. And I'm just curious about y'all thoughts in terms of the limitations of these artists, celebrities, entertainers, people who have this ability to, I don't know, move a crowd or entertain a crowd or sway a crowd. Like, what do y'all think when you think about the limitations of those type of people and those type of ways in which you coming into consciousness? Does that make sense?
I mean, for me, it does make sense. And for me, this is usually where I end up in some form of disagreement in terms of points of emphasis, that artists, in particular, and maybe as I'm just starting to formulate this thought, I'm thinking maybe this does contradict my own defensiveness around the critique of academics. But artists are particularly targeted for a role that does not, and without any particular control over their industries, to function within a colony, to perform a certain role that is to defend the politics culturally, symbolically, aesthetically, narratively, of the ruling elite, those in power. So popularity is a construct that has almost nothing to do with any individual artist and is something, again, outside of their control, and is determined by their adherence to what an affluent, primarily white audience wants to support. So to expect artists to have a particularly, and maybe this doesn't contradict, and maybe it supports my argument around academic. I don't. But to expect artists to do something in particular different, given their position and relative fame and wealth, I think misses the point of how they got there in the first place. And that's why I keep saying, and shout out to Baruch Gottlieb, who gave me this line, that my iron triangle in per se is that you can't be rich, famous, and radically political at the same time. And I think, history to me demonstrates that there is not even one exception to that rule. There's not even an exception that proves the rule. That's how solid that triangle is. Maybe two of the three at most, but once you approach that third, something happens to the career or the person themselves that takes them out of that. So that's why I just think that we have to be critical of not the individual, but the function of the art and the function of the popularity and the function of the celebrity. But I'll stop there. That's my initial.
Diallo, before you go, I know we joke about like rap lyrics and whatever, but do you believe that there were?
I don't play about rap lyrics.
Okay, well, you serious then? But do you believe that those old school rappers had a utility of raising consciousness, or whatever the case may be, that new rappers or whatever, do you see that there was a difference between the way in which rappers engage and educate, and there was more knowledge and less sycophancy in any time? Do you see differences?
No, I think Black culture is inherently anything that grows organically from the Black community is would be defined as conscious or radical or pro-Black or African. So I don't think that I think if you look at blues, even if you look at some of the earlier gospel music, or even some of the early music that could be defined as disco, the social consciousness was there. I think when it goes mainstream is what hollows it out. So it's not like old school rap artists were more principled or more or even more aware of than contemporary artists. It's that they were operating in an environment where hip hop was being commercialized or being commodified. So because we've seen a lot of so-called conscious artists flip in order to get into the mainstream. I mean, I remember some of my earliest rap concerts. The audience expected it was expected that you had to be a conscious rapper. There was this one concert, DJ Quick, and his hit song Black Pussy, and he performed. And after he performed, one of the audience members screamed out, say something positive. Like, how can you be a rapper and not have anything positive to say? And he said, "Shut up, bitch," to the audience member. And he was roundly condemned for that. So even at that era, the so-called unconscious artists were held to a standard. You know, you listen to the most, you know, we've been talking about Willie D. You listen to Gripping on That Other Level, which is one of the most vile, degenerate rap albums. But you got No Sellout, Do It Like a Geo. You know, you got the Black politics, the Black interest. So I think that my generation tries to take a lot of credit for, oh yeah, our hip hop was of higher quality. Our hip hop was just not fully integrated to the corporate system. That's what our hip hop was. It's the same thing with film. If you look at a lot of independent filmmakers versus when they get picked up by a major studio, and a lot of other artists. So I think that if we do things independently, if we do things from, for lack of a better term, from our heart as a people, it's always seen as political and in the interest of our people. But because it wasn't conscious, it wasn't deliberately like that. That was just the default status.
But you think So I hear independence, but so for instance, Bootsy was technically independent for a long time, and he could sell out shows before he became more pushed, and he still had a celebrity that I'm not sure that we can credit to major labels and
Bootsy Badass. I thought you were talking about Bootsy Collins.
Well, no, Bootsy Badass. Bootsy
Oh,
Badass was
Lord,
a
I thought
major
you was
celebrity.
talking about Bootsy Collins. I was about to say, boy,
Bootsy Badass. But also, so even there, Jared, like again, I said I was in boys chat, and I felt like
but before I wanted to say something about consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness is not fixed or static. Consciousness is always evolving. And that's the thing. What really defines or separates a conscious person from an unconscious person is that they are critical thinkers who are able to take new information, new insights, and new experiences and make the adjustment, the appropriate adjustment. So really conscious people are people who are fully intellectually alive and fully intellectually engaged, you know. So I think one of our problems is where people like this is conscious and that isn't conscious. One, the consciousness is not really, I think we should take it more serious. But that's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things we should take more serious. But the whole concept of consciousness, I think we should promote consciousness, build consciousness, cultivate consciousness, promote consciousness, be conscious. And we do need to engage in the struggle to wrestle the very concept of consciousness from the Dr. Fumbars, whom I respect, and the Farrakhan's, whom I respect, and then the master students who literally just, you know, bastardize and come with this surface analysis that really disrespects our community and our ancestors at the same time.
Right.
That's it. I just wanted to share.
Well, that leads to the question I was going to ask Jared anyway. So great. You got the sycophants. You have uninformed market who not really focus on consciousness. They focus on the con man. And again, like I said in that chat, I felt weird. Like it just. I mean, I don't know how people come to the chat, but what do you think is like a cure to wrestling them over? Is it a debate publicly? Is it laying out ideas written in video? Because there's a real time highlighting contradictions where you can, you know, be on stage with them, be on camera with them, and like real time deal with them. And then there's also laying out your argument with the knowledge that some people ain't gonna hear nothing you're gonna say, even if you have your or Diallo's delivery. Like what is the?
I don't know, and I again personally having well, I was going to say I failed in a number of methods. So I've tried debate. I've tried to be quiet and you know, please just look at the work. I've tried. I don't know. Part of the problem is that not everybody is being a genuine actor in all of this. They're not trying to solve a problem. They're not trying to create a solution. They're trying to get a bag or falsely promote themselves. So it's so I keep coming back to we have to develop organizations and movements that make this moot, that don't leave it in the hand. It's sort of like we have to create it has to be a situation where the suffering is not left to individual choice, like we're said with our spending habits or our financial literacy, et cetera, and so forth. That's not why we're poor, or that's not what should be expected of. You can't expect society to run on individual choices and behavior. There has to be something that creates a collective consciousness, a collective structure, a collective benefit, for instance, from the wealth that society produces that is disconnected from the particular individual perfect behaviors. And so I don't, in other words, in the same way I keep saying we shouldn't have to be perfect business people or consumers or financial literacists to be free, we shouldn't have to be individually perfect in any given moment in making an argument to convince others to get free. I mean, we have to create something that makes the individual component of it less of a focus, and I think less impactful. I really don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't like that question. I don't have a good answer for that, but it can't be, that's why I continuously try to incorporate into my own involvement here. Like, don't rest what you end up thinking about buying power or black capitalism on Jared's ability to write a book or make an argument or debate somebody. Sorry about the thumbs. Make your assessment based on your own, real engagement with the analysis and the work, or more importantly, by involving you and ourselves in organizational efforts that make movements, that make change that is collective. So let me just stop, because I feel like I'm gonna keep rambling. But that is where I struggle with. I don't know.
We get to the question.
I'm gonna have to excuse myself. Can we? Yeah, can we run through the comments?
Oh yeah. My bad.
And then I have to excuse myself because I'm down bad over here.
Yeah, I hear you. We appreciate you fighting through and playing hurt
and picking cotton at night with y'all.
Y'all
can pick cotton at night.
You the only bald head player that I like, right? Because you played through your sickness. Jordan was faking, and you doing the real thing. So.
Oh wow! All right. Wise the Dome. Thank you very much. Peace and good morning, family. Much appreciation for all you do. Thanks, and likewise appreciate you. Renee, shout out to you. I agree, Ricky Ryan, which is why Hedges isn't a good person to quote here. He ain't thinking about Africans when he's talking about the majority of things, unless he's telling us to ignore racism.
I think I think ignoring the context of which I quoted Hedges, and I don't know why we would be upset with Hedges for not thinking about Africans when I quoted him what he said about his culture and his community. And I think black people rejecting white people who don't talk about black people doesn't make much sense to me, because I always call Marx one of the biggest snitches in history, because he tells about some deep-seated views and positions of his people. So I do think it was appropriate to reference Chris Hedges in War as a Force That Gives Us Meaning as a decades-long war correspondent that goes into, he explains to us about European culture, So yeah, I think when white people come out and tells us and exposes us to the very culture that we should be fighting against, that's oppressing us, I think it deserves a listen and reflection.
All right, Drip the Maniac, the 50th show as the last one of 2023. I didn't catch that. Definitely a good sign. Right on. We've hit 50.
The last show. It's 50. 50 represents the police. Our show represents a radical critique of the black conscious community. So we are policing consciousness and con men and cult leaders. Wow. I'm trying to give up y'all on some numerology, brothers. If you don't want to see the signs, if you want to ignore the signs.
Ain't working, brother. Count on. Next number.
Right on. BB Rodriguez, shout out to you. Diallo, Renee, Diallo said the merchant of monopolies were the parasites of the black communities. However, he added that black businesses seek to replace and do the same. He is wrong.
I thought BB was a lot more clearer.
Who highlighted this? What are we saying about this? Okay.
I did. That's where I referenced that we believe that black businesses will do right by us. He's a good capitalist. What's that? He's a good capitalist, girl. Yeah. We believe that black capitalists are better, and black capitalism is purer than white capitalism. And white capitalism and the businesses, black businesses, will do right by us, while all these other businesses have not.
Oh, that's a BPM troll. I thought BB was right. I thought that person had some good politics at one point, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just be
or maybe they do and they just wrong in this instance.
No, but they were saying a lot of wrong shit.
They were saying a lot of wrong shit. Okay, well, all right. Well, in that case, if this comment is indicative of the overall policy. Yeah, we might have an issue. Okay, yeah, because I definitely disagree. I agree with you, Diallo. This idea that black businesses are going to be
He's a good capitalist.
because again,
like,
the point. So when Boyce makes that really ridiculous comment about the value of Marx, I mean that was ultimately Marx's point. Marx is again writing as a white man in an all-white context, saying that even here capitalism don't work. So this idea that a black version of it is going to be the solution is missing the point. It's capitalism don't solve problems for people. So
it profits from problems.
Exactly, it causes problems to create problems. You're right. Ricky, we talk about African grifters, but white people be getting over on each other every day with these self-help books. That's a fact. And one of my favorite books is talk about white writers from the late great Barbara Ehrenreich, who wrote, I thought, a great book on the history of and this particular problem. And remember, for me at least, one of the arguments I've been trying to make is that what many black capitalists and entrepreneurs are arguing is a black revolutionary, black radical, traditional tactic is itself born of that tree. It's a descendant of that white self-help tree that Ehrenreich wrote. I thought so.
Why you get to quote white folks and I can't?
Because
you need to.
Maybe I can't. I haven't been in the chat yet. I might be getting fried. Right now.
I know people be watching TV.
I understand why you mad. Listen,
but there's two productions I want to watch.
I can't quote white folks. You can't quote them either, Jared.
All right, my bad. All right.
There's two productions I want to watch. I want to see.
Bright-sided I love Bright-sided. It you know.
I want to see how grifters like Tariq Nasheed. I want to see how grifters like Tariq Nasheed and these people are able to make it to the conscious community. And then also I want to see if the Black financial literacy movement is birthed from Dave Ramsey. Like, because I don't remember the time period. I don't know the time period that it started like really popping, but I'm pretty sure Dave Ramsey was before that.
Y'all get to name drop all these white. Dave Ramsey says the only way to financial peace is through the Prince of Peace.
Prince of Peace, yeah.
So he says, you know, if you live according to Christ, if you live a Christ-like life, there's inevitable you're going to become wealthy.
But did somebody pick up this playbook and paint it black though?
So I haven't heard anybody pushing that in the financial literacy movement.
They'll use it differently. They
yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, Dave Ramsey's is way out there. Remember, he fired that subordinate for getting pregnant out of wedlock.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, get married. I just want to quickly.
Well, he had to pay her like $1 million for that. Like,
please check out this documentary if you've never seen it. It's called The American Ruling Class. It does feature Ehrenreich. I used to use it in my classes literally every semester for years, and it's one of the best documentaries I think it's ever been made on how this how all of this works from the perspective of primarily class. They don't do race too much, but in terms of class, it's fantastic, and they even do a nickel and dime song based on Ehrenreich's work. So something I recommend. In fact, I'm probably gonna watch it again today. It's been too long.
Yeah. Shout out, rest in peace, Barbara.
But enough with the whites. Enough with the whites.
Right, yeah, I'm just saying.
We're going too far. We're going too far.
Barbara
Ehrenreich. Get your Barbaras right. Get your Barbaras right. We don't Walters over here.
Chubb Rock. I just saw an interview. Chubb Rock right after Barbara Walters died, and he called her a bitch.
Called her a bitch.
And she stepped to him
classic
like,
track.
Who you calling a bitch? She
stepped
to him like Queen to Latifah.
Did she?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I remember him when he.
Barbara Walters stepped to Chubb Rock. Oh,
yeah,
we got
like
to get
on
the video
Queen
on that.
Latifah. Who you calling him? I don't think it was on recorded, but Chubb Rock was recounting the story. He's like, UNITY, who you calling a bitch? And he said, I called you a bitch.
Barbara was a thug.
The way you interviewed Minister Farrakhan, man, whom I respect. He's like, I didn't like how you were so hostile in that interview when he was being extremely respectful. Because he got smoked by the black.
Barbara Walters.
He don't have no smoke for white folks. But
people got thinking black invented crack when they invented way back. They had formed it back in '63 with Kennedy, the double cross. With that DJ Premier beat, yeah.
The Barbara Walters
is
is step another white
But
person. Now we're talking about white women. Listen,
it's
Renee. I think Renee has logged off. You can deal with all that tomorrow.
Paul Franklin,
Tune in
Dr.
for
Ball,
Saturdays
Geechee,
with
Coco,
Renee.
Ricky. There you go. You are not going to speak to the effectiveness of your approach to boys as much as smoke as y'all give Diallo. Come on, fam.
Huh?
Why y'all be coming at me? Go at them as hard as y'all come for me.
Wait,
That's
what,
all he's saying.
Coco,
You're not
where's
going
Coco
to speak.
not even here.
I'm your
Coco
brother.
I'm not even sure. Yeah, where
Coco
is
catching strays and shit.
I'm not the enemy here.
this
That's
is
what
my
he's
fault.
saying.
I did highlight this, but I don't even remember what I'm not sure what I was thinking when I did
You're
that.
not
So
going to speak to the effectiveness of your approach to boys as much smoke as
I've tried to speak. I've tried to speak to Boyce. He refused. So I don't know what this is, but so
He said y'all coming mad gentle to the enemies and
No,
coming real hard for your allies.
No.
Oh wow, that's what it is.
The only thing, listen, nobody's never trying to win Boyce over at all. Now, if I was talking to Boyce, I would probably start out a little Jarrett, but I'm pretty sure by 2 words and I'm gonna be Diallo. So Diallo was right.
There you go. ZZ, thank you again. I got this point from Diallo on one of his past shows. It's the prosperity hustle of snake oil salesmen. After they steal your money, they are going to blame you for making a bad decision, from the church to politicians and gurus. Right on.
I call it prosperity politics, which is the bastard offspring of prosperity gospel.
And the grift graft. You were
so
talking
you
about the
use your
grift,
spirituality
the
to get money. Right. You turn
graft.
black
Plus,
religion
Boyce
and black
is not in any
spirituality
community anyway.
as a
Like,
wealth
you
producing
don't have to
scheme.
organize around him.
And now you turn black consciousness into a wealth producing scheme. That's prosperity politics and prosperity gospel, which have both been discredited, but still around for some reason.
Word.
Yipper 99, just like
name,
how
man?
y'all pay Diallo to come on every epissode. That's right. And please like, share, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon, because we can barely afford him as it is. So in fact, we had to send him. Geechee sent him his contract this morning when Diallo was like, "I'm sick." Geechee was like, "You only got so many sick days now, bruh. We paid a lot." So that's why he's here now. So you're right, Yipper.
In fact, we might need a rebate because he came late.
I was here.
He was late. You finding him like James Brown?
He was late and trying to leave early.
I should still be in the bed.
Rebate, brother.
And trying to leave early.
You say you're trying to leave early and late. Listen, we're gonna need a rebate.
Ain't no holiday. Even the white man let me take off during the holidays.
Even the white man. A-Rob, part 1 is available on Patreon as low as $5. To access part 2, you got to move up to a higher tier content over everything raging. Hey, that's slick though. That's what we need to do. We need to paywall and say, you want Diallo's full response? $5 more. I think that's what we need to do. Anthony D, Dr. Umar, whether you like him or not, is engaging, and there's some honest truth. His thoughts about building a foundation through a union between black man and a black woman. So, but this, Anthony, and I appreciate Anthony. First of all, I don't respond often, but I do get all your emails. You said you like to keep me informed, so I appreciate the effort. But this, for me, speaks to exactly the problem. It's not that Umar or others that we criticize here are 100% wrong all the time. For me, what makes it even more of a challenge is that they do start with something that is factual or logically based or references something in radical traditions, but it's where they take it that becomes a problem for me. So
can I say,
listen,
say
what you
it's like black businesses. I have no problem with a black person who has a brilliant idea or a brilliant invention getting out there and monetizing and advancing it. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is when people call that a panacea, claim that particular businesses are solutions to problems that they are not a solution to, and in many instances perpetuate a problem. It's the same thing with black family. Almost 90% of black people who are in intimate committed relationships are in intimate committed relationships with other black people. How has that transformed anything about our condition? There was a time when it was all but 100% because it was outlaw for us to be seen in public intimately with white folks. And we went through Jim Crow, almost 100% black on black relationship. If being with a black person unto itself was radical or revolutionary, I have a whole video called Black Love is Not Revolutionary.
Which is dope.
And so I just don't like him misrepresenting what it means. The race that dates at the demographic that dates outside of his race at the highest percentage are white males. White males date outside of their race at a higher per capita percentage than any other race. Has that weakened the white race? Did they lose some nukes or aircraft carriers or some economic standing because of that? Did the Asian women?
Another brown baby. We lost a helicopter.
The Asian
on
women, did the wealth transfer from the white race to the Asians or the black women? George Lucas, a billionaire, has a black wife, and then when she inherits that wealth, or their black children inherit that wealth, what is that going to do for us? Or those
that's why people should appreciate me more.
White men, those billionaire offspring of white men, are they going to come and redistribute that wealth to the black community? Or are they going to align with other billionaires to protect their economic interest over their racial, cultural, historical alignments? So I don't have any problem with someone saying, hey, I think personally, I couldn't imagine being in a intimate long-term relationship with someone who isn't black because of my experience and my values and I and all that. I did have a crush on that one white lady from what's that show? Arrested Development. Oh, that's my favorite.
White lady from
Portia, the one who ended up
the mother.
The mother?
Yeah, she's my favorite character.
And she was even better as the mother on Archer.
Oh, yes.
That's my show.
Wife, if I ever get a chance,
Well, she passed away a couple years ago.
Exactly.
But
so now I'm stuck here.
Now you stuck.
She died?
Yeah, she died.
Everybody tell me. Oh, Lord.
They even did a nice tribute on Archer, man.
On
you gotta watch Archer, man. They even did a nice tribute to her and her dead husband.
It's hilarious.
Archer, to me, it might be the best thing I've ever seen on mainstream. I watch it and constantly. Yeah. Anyway, I watch it too much.
All that to say is,
you like Lucy. Listen, I thought you like the Latinos.
Who?
Like Umar said.
I love
Latinos. The Latino.
Yeah, what we should do is a Patreon special on our white crushes. Because I got one that popped up in the early 2000s, maybe the early 2000s. Is it that old now? She popped up and I was like, oh Lord, good thing I'm never gonna meet her. She'd be a problem.
I don't think I got no white crush.
Yeah,
she'd be a problem because I
waited too long.
You waited too long.
That's why I want to say to all these other brothers that got a crush on.
I ain't even had like to paint. I ain't even.
But that is a point. But that's my point though about where I do agree with that line from Umar. I do agree with that. That it is not about denying some sort of physical attraction. It's making a politically conscious choice. I'm not going there. And so I don't agree with. I never believe in this. I just happen to fall in love with, and that's why. No. There are many steps that occur before you go. That occur between. Ooh, I'm attracted to so and so, and I'm now walking down the aisle with them. So,
well, if y'all do white crush, I'm gonna do white voices that I like to hear sing, because I don't think I got a crush.
Okay,
I can't.
It might be the same thing. You might be fronting behind a voice and just like the woman.
I don't want to date Yeba or Amy Winehouse or Nora Jones, but I definitely want to hear them sing a couple times.
All right, right on. Dr. Umar is a progressive Democrat. Okay, anybody want to add to that? I didn't highlight
Dr. Umar advocates for Black people to reject the vote and to remove ourselves from the political machinations, number one. Number two, if you look at what he advocates for, strong family values and all that other personal responsibility, he much more aligns with a centrist Republican or a moderate Republican than he does with progressive Democrats. And progressive Democrats, one of the key characteristics of a progressive Democrat is staunch support for the LGBTQAI community. So this person does not really aware of political platforms and ideologies to call Umar. If you had to say where
that's exactly right.
What he advocates for aligns with, he's more of a moderate Republican than he is even a centrist Democrat, let alone a progressive Democrat. I would say the average progressive Democrat in terms of what they advocate for is further to the left than Dr. Umar.
So listen, when Umar and Boyce clip y'all little white women segment, I wasn't in it, y'all.
No.
Well, Diallo ain't in it either. His is dead. I'm the only one who has
passed
acknowledged that mine might still be alive, but
you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. God, man.
And if you don't watch Archer, you ain't black.
George Jones man white. Hold on. What happened? I might got a chance.
All right, hold on. A couple more here. Thank you, Trees Top. This type of misinfo is rampant on Twitter. Yeah, and Elon and what did it, somebody just said that,
from Twitter, man. When are we gonna leave?
I'm trying. I'm trying to do threads now. I'm trying to the Blue Sky one. I didn't get invited to, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you. And somebody I saw reported. I don't know if this is accurate that the N-word has gone up in use 500% since Elon Musk took over the platform. So he's just like taking the lid off of get your hard R's out there. Hiram, what's up, man? Consciousness is a ploy to get you to buy more shea butter for Kwanzaa.
I don't see the negative outcome to that.
You just don't read, beloved.
I really don't see black people consuming more shea butter. Where's the downside to that?
That's a good question. More shea butter.
I don't see a downside to that.
Pass the shea. There it is.
Circulate that black shea dollar.
Jiggin, thank you. It pays to BBC black men bash, blame, and corral.
Boy, because I thought that was something else.
I was about to say. I saw. Look, I even see it comes up on my algorithm.
Read that out loud.
I saw.
Clip that.
Pause.
Pause.
I saw. There's a whole podcast, the BBC podcast. I have to admit, I can't click it. I just can't. My manosphere won't allow me to click it. I'm like, man, y'all. That's
Y'all talking about shea butter and BBC. Hey, listen, we got to.
Hey, you talking about creaming to like lotion? I mean,
that's Willie D. That's between you and Willie D. Tell us how that turns out. Because your background is moist. So what's that all about?
You the first one to call it. I wasn't gonna say it the whole show. I was gonna leave it there. You the first one to call it. I was like, nobody. I didn't even see people ask about it in the chat. Diallo is a genius. It's confirmed. Nobody. I didn't see anybody say nothing. You called it out exactly. And that's it. Why is this moist over here behind me talking trash? You know what I'm saying? What
I'm glad we still have some manosphere listeners. I'm just happy we still got manosphere listeners.
Woo! That was
engaging
great.
with us. I'm happy about that. Welcome,
BB Rodriguez is back. You must produce within your own communities. Dr. Amos Wilson.
I highlight that, but I wanted them to explain. That's why I was trying to figure out, because they were saying a bunch of wild shit, but produce what in our community, and then
more babies.
Microchips.
I don't know.
Sofas.
Shea butter. Sell it to the people.
Are they the people that need to be won over? Are these people the focus or the people they capture from Ricky?
So we're talking about the sick.
I highlight that,
but Diallo already did. Go ahead.
I do think it is valid to talk about, winning people, because it came up in the last time we went live about winning people over and capture. So I not that I have an answer, because I'm not sure who she was speaking about specifically, but in terms of, I do think it's something we should continue to grapple with, this concept of winning people over to our side, or appealing to the larger communities, or turning someone around who we deem being going in the wrong direction.
Well, that was said when I asked the question to Jared about the boy sycophants and those people. But then again, if I hear winning them over and then also hear out organized, then who shouldn't be organized? So who shouldn't be won over to correct ideas, or there shouldn't be an attempt made? So yeah, but I think if she wasn't talking about boy sycophants and people who follow those lines, then I wouldn't know.
I still think if we, and I'm riffing off of Glenn Ford still too, and his rest in peace, and his approach with Black Agenda Report. Somebody, by the way, never mind. Somebody said something nasty to me about what they think I said about Glenn, and I didn't even. It just I ignored them at the time, and now it popped into my head. Yeah, whatever you think I've said about Glenn, I promise you don't know Glenn or his work better than I did. So whatever you think I said, it was out of whatever. But his point that I'm borrowing from here is that I don't think our goal is to reach the quote unquote unconverted or the quote unquote masses. Our goal is to encourage through our media journalism and that analysis more organization among those who claim that they are already in agreement. That I think will build the organizations and movements that will bring people in almost as a force of nature. But this, so I, Black Agenda Report was never designed to compete with Shade Room or MSNBC. It was designed to help organize those already involved in political spaces and Black radical politics, et cetera, and so forth. So that's how I try to respond to that and manage my expectations about and also to try to ease the pain of some of the negative responses that I and we get from our efforts. So, okay, Jiggin, I would settle for critical analysis. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead. Because I was just looking at another comment. It's saying if EYL, Boyce, Charleston, and Umar stopped talking, what would the organizing look like? And it's just like
the same as it looks with them talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And can I say something about winning people over? Which is something my late grandmother told me. The way you get somebody is the way you keep them. So even with this argument about winning people over or appealing to people, if we do it through catering to their delusions or do it through manipulating, then you're going to be locked into that cycle.
Catering or acknowledging?
I think,
catering or acknowledging? Because I don't want acknowledging to be also called catering.
Well, acknowledging, that's neutral. Do you acknowledge and condemn or acknowledge and embrace?
I mean, I think acknowledging, again.
So if I come into an organization and I'm a sexist, I believe that women are subordinate to men and that the man needs to dominate and these sisters need to step out of our way so we can do the work of an alpha male, all that shit, right? And you acknowledge that I'm a sexist in your organization. Then what do you do after you acknowledge, yeah, bro, Diallo's a sexist? Then what?
I mean, I think you wouldn't be in the organization because if we are clearly telling you our line and what we are doing, like that's not a space you will be in.
So it's not just acknowledging. Once you acknowledge their position, you have to take specific deliberate action in response to that position
based off the consequences of what you're acknowledging. Right. But if it's not harming, like that's something that could harm people. So if it's not harming other individuals, then that's a whole nother conversation in terms of what people are dealing with. Like, for instance, I'm not talking about Boyce's financial trauma, but if people are dealing with a certain type of trauma or a certain type of way in which they view the world, if it's not harming other people, acknowledging it is different than accepting it or believing it or adjusting to it.
Well, what reactionary position that doesn't harm other people exists?
What reactionary beliefs?
Yes.
Or mythological
or delusional belief.
We talk about this all the time. We talk about this all the time. Organizers who believe things mythologically that you don't agree with.
What things?
Anything about religion or whatever. If they believe those things or follow those things, if they are showing up in a way that they're not harming people, that's what I'm saying.
So I could be a member of a body that is harmful, but if I, as an individual, do not act on those harmful teachings or those harmful practices, then I'm free to separate myself, even though I'm affiliated with that.
Well, do you show up in the space and act like what I'm supposing all the other people act like?
No.
I mean, when they go home again. So, for instance,
I agree.
If every day I never show you I practice Islam, and as you say, I go home and bump my head on the floor. If you don't know what I'm doing at home, why is you even worried about what I'm doing?
I agree with that. I absolutely, totally agree with that. But should the organization stance on the actual Islam be suppressed? Should we not articulate our stance?
Well, I
in
don't
order
think
to preserve this relationship. Because I'll work with a Muslim, but I'm not going to attempt to shelter them from my critique of Islam. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you can work with a Muslim, but should you compromise your critique or even condemnation, if need be, of something in order to preserve that relationship or to win that person over?
I think that's what people will struggle with in terms of when they talk about boys. They will hear that Jared compromised something when Jared didn't really compromise anything in terms of how he delivered what he believed and how he approached boys. He didn't go and say, "Boys, you a lying piece of mother." He didn't say that.
Well, you ran into that. You actually agree with me because you
No,
ran
I
into
said-
that exact same problem in your group. Remember, y'all were critiquing and condemning capitalism, and there was an entrepreneur business owner in your group who was upset that the organization that he contributed to and was a member of was constantly tearing down what he thought was his identity, his goal, his ambition. Remember that?
But yes, but listen, once we examine it, it didn't. So for instance, if somebody says he's tearing down, you would have to have evidence, right? He didn't have evidence that we was tearing down black business. What he had evidence is circulating the dollar don't build wealth. Black people have 3
Right.
million
I'm
businesses
very
with
clear on what his
European
issue was. His problem was that you guys were disparaging entrepreneurialism, disparaging capitalism,
with no
disparaging.
evidence. Because he ended up. What I'm saying is he ended up when we had the mediation. He ended up apologizing that we never said any of that. He was just he said I was being emotional,
and then he kicked y'all to the curb.
No, you can't kick a group to a curb. You gotta leave on your own because you know that you're not.
He kicked y'all to the curb. He broke up
able
with
to
y'all.
deal with it.
Okay, but yeah, I'm just saying. I think we agree on this, based on your practices. Unless you're selective, you'll critique capitalism, but not other pernicious ideologies and practices.
No, I mean anything that I have the capacity to critique, I am. But
All
I
right,
just
then we agree.
Yeah, I mean, even though boys say capitalism is a religion and is as the same or worse than a religion, and yeah, so I don't find capitalism and critiquing capitalism. Well, I mean, I think black business owners do feel this type of way when you
We
constantly-
capitalist, boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, so a couple more here. So Diallo, are you saying that the conscious rap from our generation were fake in the revolutionary language of the time? Examples: PE, BDP, Wise Intelligent, X-Clan, and so many others. That they were fake in their revolutionary language.
No, they weren't. No, here's what we have to understand. The conscious rappers of that era were products of the time, not producers of the time, or products of the era. They were products of the era, not producers of the era. I think we have to grasp that more so. You know, the conscious rappers didn't bring consciousness into the community. They were birthed out of the conscious. If you listen to a lot of those old late 90s conscious records, they sample Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Kwame Ture. You go listen to those old words from the wise. So, and I do believe many of them were sincere at the time and they changed. Many of them were sincere and changed up tactics. Some of them were absolutely insincere. So I think it is a variety, but I think more so is we should understand that those artists were products of the time. They didn't create the time. And I think that allows us to grasp what was going on in the larger Black community where something like that could be created and flourish at that era, and what's missing now that we don't really have, or there's no longer that association with hip hop and consciousness, or that corny line from Chuck D that hip hop is the Black CNN.
And they also came in at a time before the industry had caught up to what was happening and reformed itself, and the colonial structure took over and made that happening again very unlikely. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and a lot of these minstrels, if the culture did shift, if there was a changing tide in society, Boosie Badass, who Geechee seems obsessed with, or Lil Uzi Vert, they would all come out Afrocentric looking like X-Clan if that's where the money resided. Because they are you know, when the name the
Diallo
tune.
said Boosie was revolutionary as an independent artist, and once the industry got him, he was no longer
Which
revolutionary.
Diallo you talking about? Rachel Dolezal?
No, that one right there.
Diallo? There's
The
a lot
one
of
right
Diallos out there.
here. The one right here.
You know, Rachel Dolezal changed her name to Diallo. So now you got to be more specific. You can't just say Diallo. You
Oh, that's the other white lady that you had a crush on too?
No, I told you the white lady I had a
I'm
crush
just
on.
saying, brother.
EYL, whom I
Wait,
respect.
do
Thank
I-
you,
do y'all have a snow bunny?
Happy New Year, Diallo, and feel
Thank
better.
you.
Happy New Year and Diallo feel
Yeah,
better.
that New Year is for all of y'all.
Yes, you're right. Thank you very much. Thank you, ZZ. Appreciate you. Burhan is
Rachel
Raphael
Dolezal,
Bell with the George Jackson pick. Was hip-hop of the late 80s and early 90s all performance, or was some rooted in real politics ideology when it comes to racial pride? I think we just answered that. Thank you for the super chat.
Well, if you look at X-Clan, they had the Black Watch movement. If you look at Wise Intelligent from or Poor Righteous Teachers from Intelligent Seeds and their work in New Jerusalem, or as they called it, in Trenton, New Jersey, there were several conscious artists that were part of local and community organizing. Even Dead Press, which they didn't really come out in the conscious era, they came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were working with the Uhuru movement. So there is a history of I mean, even though I think it's a cult, Brand Nubian and many other artists with their work with the Nations of Gods and Earth, the 5%, you know, they raised money and built structures. And after that movie, Reprising Sunshine, the building that was featured in that got burnt down by some white nationalists, and Brand Nubian raised the funds to rebuild it back even better, funding independent schools and programs. So actually, if you look at the record, there were many conscious or political artists who were engaged in the movement and contributing their name, their influence, and even some ducats to the movement. And ducats is what we used to call money back then.
ZZ line again. F. Dave, black conservative, love him.
Yeah, I agree. Fuck Dave.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey.
Chappelle, right?
Dave
Is
Ramsey.
that Chappelle?
No, Dave
Ramsey.
Ramsey.
Oh.
Dave Ramsey.
You like pick a Dave.
Right. Yeah. Y'all listen.
Pick a Dave. That's messed up.
He was still right. When you right, you're right. But here's another thing. Yeah, I've lost some white dudes. You know, Derek Jensen and Dave. Yeah, I've had some white boys will flip on you. In the heart of every white liberal and progressive is a little Klansman waiting to get out.
Not Parenti though.
Parenti,
he wasn't a liberal, but he wasn't a liberal.
Down.
No, but
Michael
you talking about
Parenti's
somebody
not
who flipped.
Derek Jensen wasn't a liberal either, and how I left the left. He's a right wing grifter now.
I see. Oh, wow. Okay, wow.
And he was supporting, and he was aligned with Earth Liberation Front and a lot of far left. But now he's
well, he saw look, even white folks from the suburbs get multiple life sentences messing with them. So he saw that and was like, even rich white boys get put in prison for life messing with this ELF stuff. So let me go ahead and get my bag and move on out. But
yeah, Dave Ramsey out the gate, he was a right-wing reactionary, fascist, racist, capitalist. Yeah, it's Dave Ramsey. It's the scum of the earth, but.
Stanley Cross, thank you for your 3-month membership. Is a lot of quoting from books, the same as original thinking.
No, it's not. But they're both necessary. It's not the same, but I think they're both valued.
Original thought is overdone. Nas already told you ain't nothing new under the sun. So just give credit to where you get the inspiration for your conclusions, and most of which, or a lot of which, I would hope come from a good engagement with the literature. But the last one we got is not Zay. We ever get a no-name interview on BPM? We have not. We did try, but we have not. So we can try again. Bless her heart. And we'll try again. But no, we have not.
No name.
All right, fellas. That's it for the comments. Big shout out to the both of you and to all of the remixers.
Oh, one more.
Isn't he right wing or weird?
Christian Parenti? No, Christian's dope. I thought he did some real good work on the history of policing that I remember. He did some
stuff his work on Tropic of Chaos. Excellent analysis in,
I don't know
terms
that
of
one.
climate
Okay.
change and how climate change is fueling a lot of wars and conflict. You know, a lot of nomadic and agricultural peoples coming into clash, fighting over water and basic resources. So I think Christian Parenti is follows kind of picked up the baton from his father.
That's what I keep hearing. I ain't read a lot of Christian, to be honest with you, but
it's not dope. Oh man, hey, I haven't seen his work since he did something on the policing, which I thought was good. But
I think
the Rise of the Warrior Cop, yeah, that was good too. But
I heard
I gotta say,
one lecture or something, and I was like, eh. But
okay, all right, no problem. I have
what
not.
do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
I'm not familiar. I just don't know. So.
Wait, you're not saying Diallo? You're not saying he's better than his father or stronger than his father?
No, I said he took on the baton from his father. It seems like he picked up from his
So
father.
you saying
I thought he had too, but apparently not.
Huh?
You saying he's equal to his father?
That's not what he's saying, Geechee. He
said
said he picked up the.
I mean, I don't know what
picked up the baton doesn't mean better. It means you carrying on a tradition.
Is it okay? We'll equal then.
I thought
This
he
is
was at
good.
least carrying on a tradition, maybe in his own way, but apparently I'm just not on his work.
He
so
don't
I
understand how offspring. If he spent more time with his own children, he'd understand better.
All right, listen. We praise.
Did you hear somebody ask us to do a show on fatherhood, Jared?
What happened?
You saw that? Somebody was asking us to do a show on fatherhood.
I'm down for that.
I'm not. My kids don't listen to me for shit.
That's all I was gonna say. My kids don't listen to me no more.
I can't. I'm not one of those fatherhood gurus or relationship.
I'm not
gurus.
either. Andre said it was.
Me a stumble and fall. You know.
Yeah,
I'm just stumbling.
I mean, I think
blindly through this fatherhood.
I
shit.
know. Is this question possible? Is it possible not to be compared to a parent who is known for some important shit? Is that even possible?
I don't have a problem with the initial thought of comparison. I thought that the first of all,
because they are both authors, they're both scholars, they both lecture, they both take leftist or progressive positions. Like
I thought at least
Christian
they thought
was
they
a
did,
rugby player and his father was a political scientist, then of course it's really, but they literally have followed the same career path as public intellectuals and public scholars.
Yeah, the only reason we asked about Michael Jordan's son is because he went into basketball for a minute. It wasn't because I'm not looking to compare his son in life.
And they both bunny hopping at this juncture.
Oh, whoops.
He didn't take on the family business of basketball, but he took on the family business of bunny hopping.
I missed the question. What question was it?
Oh, I don't know.
Silence Renee. I mean,
Ricky. That's Ricky.
And Renee.
First of all, if you believe that, you're a fool. There's no way Ricky not asking another direct question. But
Ricky,
even Ricky would have to.
Saturday.
I mean, Ricky not involved. Ricky and Renee are two different people.
I'm saying Renee is mad.
So, for instance, if you talk,
Ricky is mad.
If somebody's talking, I don't think you can always see the questions though. Like the questions can go.
But I mean, I'm sorry if we missed something. My bad. I mean, dag, if we miss a question, it gets like that. Y'all, Ricky, you doing too much. Ricky, you just acknowledged what would happen when the views change when you appear. Like, come on, Ricky.
Why
I wouldn't waste my time. Damn. All right. Then don't. What can I say? What can I say? Don't waste your time.
What do the relationship, the pickup artists in the manosphere tell you?
That Trini guy. That would
the best way to get a woman's attention.
I thought Trinities were cool. I thought Trinities were.
You don't know nobody from Trinidad. What the
I do. My Trini crew is cool. I don't have a problem with the Trinities.
They must have grew up in America.
Where did Ricky grow up?
Well, she still got a New York Trini.
It's the New York part that's probably coming out more than the Trini. It's that New York blood coming out.
Hey man,
but
I mean, there's more.
I mean, it's whatever though.
New York than there are.
I'll just dip into my DC blood. We can get it. I'm here for it. Let's go, Ricky. I dealt with Boyce, dealt with the whites. Hold up. I got something.
Jared, the only person who would know a cool Trini, not like bad cool, but they can go up quick.
I'm sure they can, but not with me.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Not one. Not one. Yeah. I don't get it though. We go too quick. We go too quick off the left. You should appreciate more what we're doing here. And if we make an error, put it in context.
Jab you up the street now.
Oh man. All right, good people.
All right, man. I'm going to watch reruns of The Wire. Get under a large blanket.
Thanks for the Diallo performance, not the Jordan performance.
Man, me and Scoobs, I'm about to take Scoobs for a little while. I'm dog sitting my sister-in-law's.
Scoobs look like he's camera shy. He like, don't put me in front of that camera, bro.
And brother, you got a white dog?
I got two. I got two. I'm bunny hopping dog.
Would not you giving the resources and walking a white dog, a black dog, empower our people? Do you know the resources that you give into that white dog or resources that could otherwise?
No, man, I put my whites on leashes, Diallo. That's how I do. I put my whites on leashes.
They're gonna eat this video up, dog. They're gonna tear our video up, bro. It's a wrap.
First of all, they don't even whatever.
Shit, you think boys?
They watch? Boys don't be watched. Boys don't even remember. He don't even know who I am.
He said, I don't know. He said, then he said, I don't know who.
Even my dog is mixed. Actually, my dog actually is. My real dog actually is.
That's all. We don't want no pedigrees. No pedigrees around here.
It's rough out here, boy. I tell you.
No pedigrees.
All right, good people. Peace.
And besides, that's not a dog, man.
That's not a dog.
I don't like them little dogs, man. If it's under 75 pounds, I don't know what y'all think them little lap dogs.
This is a Chihuahua, right?
Exactly. Come on now.
Damn.
He's cool with me.
I'm from Missouri. You know, we like we like big dogs.
Diallo, you scared of dogs?
No. I had a pit for 14 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, this isn't Roberto though, Big T. Roberto's chill. He's jealous of this one. So when this one comes around, he gets mad and leaves. So he's sulking in the corner like a good light skin. He's doing
Y'all don't forget about y'all dog.
Light skin for this abuse.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of the little bitty dogs. You know, my sister.
Jared get on, he leave his dog for a white dog.
Where you walk.
Nah, in general, I never thought I would like a small dog, but I like this guy right here, man. And my sister-in-law had another small dog like this that I used to babysit, and I enjoyed, little Chico. They're cuter than I thought, but in general, I used to be the same way. I just, I need this ain't no real dog. I need a dog.
Yeah, that's on me, man. I need a dog to keep crackheads out in my yard.
That's me in the background sulking in the corner. Damn. Well, you know how us light skins do. We can't take no criticism. The darker the berry, the stronger the defense.
Question. As vegans and dog lovers.
Man, you asking more questions?
One last question. As vegans and dog lovers, do y'all feel some type of way about people, cultures who actually eat dogs?
I don't understand the difference between eating a dog, a rat, a cow, or a pig. I don't understand. Like I see online a lot, these people posting these videos of people in Europe and Asia cooking dogs, and people are like, ooh, that's gross. And I don't really understand. How do you determine which animals are worthy of consumptions and which aren't?
One of the dog videos that I looked at sometime when we first brought Roberto home made a point that has always stuck with me. It said that the key to domestication, I think I'm saying that wrong, was that dogs were among the first to make real eye contact with us. And from that point on, it's the eye contact that has led us into this affinity that has developed this. It's really just a social construct that you're talking about is the point I'm getting at. That and I just thought that was interesting. I don't know how accurate that is. I just thought it was an interesting point. And then I see my dog.
But a horse will look you in the eye.
Do they? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know. Ride and tend to quarter horses, dogs, and a pigs. Pigs are more intelligent.
I know pigs are smarter, but I didn't.
I was up in Smithfield, Missouri. I was up in Smithfield, Missouri, and pigs recognize you and they know their names, and they're a lot smarter. It's much easier to train a pig than a dog. So
I think rats are smarter than dogs too, aren't they?
I want a rat. I would love to have a pet rat.
I actually, one of the atheist channels I watch, the dude is he has
Burger
a lot
King
of
got
animals, and
wholesome
he
meat, by the
actually keeps a lot of rats, and he talks all the time about how intelligent they are, how social they are.
Yeah.
They've been given a really bad rap as rats. I ate a horse in Mexico. What did that say? What did
they got off the boat with white folks? They,
No, I'm saying, I think Zinzabel.
Wait, you took put it back. Wait a minute. And it was delicious. Wow, Musa.
Yeah, so I don't understand this. Oh, this meat is good. This meat is bad. Like me, if I ran into tropical fruits or vegetables or exotic fruits and vegetables that I've never seen before, I'm not like, ooh, gross. Look at that weird vegetable. I like to try various fruits and vegetables from various different places. So if you're a meat eater, why do you think eating a dog is more grotesque than eating a pig or a cow or a chicken?
I have actually, for a minute there, I thought I had gone fully into the you know, being incapable of even conceiving of eating meat ever again. But I did just see a plate of wings last week that made me rethink.
I'm not sure why she answering the question though. Isn't it confusing if you're confused about the question? Why are you answering the question?
I don't know. You having a whole conversation.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get y'all a new host. I'm trying to get y'all a new host, an A-Rob or Zinzabel.
I thought you were supposed to be replacing me next month.
No, they're replacing me. They confused by my question, and so I think they can answer.
C. Mills. Oh, look at. So there's the overlap. In fact, Aaron Ra, I do watch some of his stuff, but he's not the one I was thinking. I was thinking of Matt Dillahunty. Matt Dillahunty's the one always talking about.
He went
rats.
crazy. Matt
Aaron Ra.
Yeah, what happened to that dude?
I watch him almost several times.
I love watching white folks fight. You saw when he like American atheist. I love watching white folks.
I mean, and I thought there was going to be a fight when he fought when he was debating that conservative Muslim, and the Muslim told him to say it to his face, and Matt got up and walked over and said whatever he said to his face, and they had to get up there and get in between. I was like, oh,
he should have said, well, whom I respect first.
That's my entertainment when I need a break from the stuff we deal with here.
Cotton? What happened to Peter Cotton?
I don't know. So Matt Dillahunty, Aaron Ra, the Forrest Valakai dude, and the woman he partners with often, Emma something. She's a young, I forgot what her field is, biologist something. And I watch this stuff, right? You know, I don't think Emma's the right name, though. She uses a Godsick Gibbon is her name. Godsick Gibbon, I think. So I watch a lot of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, I like Aaron Ra.
Yeah, they're all atheists.
I'm glad that he looks like an atheist. Like I like the fact that Aaron Ra
looks like a Satanist.
Looks like how people imagine an atheist should look. Like I wish I could embody like
never heard of that.
He looks divine. So
these are white. A lot of them seem to be in Texas, and they're like, and they all are coming out of former, strict, many of them at least, strict religious communities who become atheists. And what I like about it is they get it. Not only do you get in what for me is entertaining to see the intellectual sparring, but I also in that get a lot of information about histories of what is it, secular humanism. Some philosophy, some styles of argumentation, and what I really appreciate, and I'll stop here, is that they're really big on methodology in the debate, and I really appreciate that when it's that, and I think we need more of that part over here. But it's a nice break. It's a nice little. To me, it's like a sitcom almost. Yeah.
But I have to say, as you are telling Black folks to enter the new atheist sphere, there's a lot of right-wing reactionary and overtly racist, jingoistic, and white nationalists like Sam Harris. So
I don't know him.
Sam Harris, he's like the chief of the intellectual dark web, where there's a whole arena of the atheist skeptic community. Sam Harris is probably the ringleader of that. So there is a component if you do get into that pipeline that
the folks I stick with
element.
Their racism is suppressed. They present themselves as social liberals, progressives even. They don't get into debates around economy or anything like that too much. So it's strictly, they stay in a lane that I can appreciate, and I don't feel like I'm going to get offended. So,
well, they let their critiques of Islam fall into Western chauvinism and U.S. exceptionalism. And, you know, they say Islam is backwards and those who follow it are primitive. And,
I don't.
You know.
The other thing, I did reach out to Richard Carrier, a PhD who does a lot on the myth. He's a mythicist who believes Jesus, who argues that not believes. He argues that there's more likely. He's like 2/3 into believing that Jesus was entirely a myth based on his research. But to your point, I reached out to him because one area that does bother me when they discuss religion is that they are decidedly, they seem decidedly unaware of African history and African contributions to anything. So I asked Carrier for his work on ancient Egypt and stuff like that, and what I read through wasn't impressive on that point. So I do think they obviously have their blind spots, but no, I don't know who I'm supposed to know who Sam Harris is apparently. So let me just do a quick look. I haven't.
Oh Lord, I thought she wasn't asking questions no more.
Oh no, I haven't.
And she couldn't even wait till the next show to ask a question. She's the dishonest person. But to answer that, my critique is of the atrocities and oppression that Islam and Muslims have leveled against the colonization of the African continent by Arabs and Islamicists, and the forced conversion of many Africans to Islam. So I don't think that is a world away from talking about U.S. imperialism in the Islamic Arab Persian world, U.S. assassination of leaders and exploitation of U.S. of the resources of the region. So, but if you can't make the distinction between an African victim of Arab racism and Islamic oppression and Western white Islamophobia, then you know you have to go. What did Boyce Watkins do? What software does he use? Go buy my my tutorial on.
He sends a lot of emails, by the way, too.
Islam.
That's how you keep them engaged.
If you get this, I signed up for the subscription, and it's just a whole bunch of emails. But look, this is why I keep saying, Ricky, you should be co-hosting a BAP show on this platform that could take time each episode to address itself to Diallo's shortcomings, because there's a lot of discussion in BAP chats about Diallo and sometimes my shortcomings. And I think it would be great if we had that echo chamber on the platform. I'm actually not joking. I think that's always been. So if we're not going to have the debates live together, then I think it would be great to have the echo chamber. If you have a disagreement, take it out of the chat or build on the chat and do a segment, and then we can respond on EYL, and we can create. Then we can create this echo chamber of a discussion.
How she say she done asking questions, and then before we even get off the air today, she come with a question.
I fully didn't believe that. I knew Ricky was coming back.
I know. I just take.
Somebody say, bring them on, please. Who's this? Who is that?
Well, my point is at 3 hours plus, I don't know if we're going to start another segment, but that's my point. If there's a whole other show, then or people could take time and produce whole videos or have whole discussions.
Psychology, man.
Play a clip from Diallo and then take a few minutes to fix the argument. I'm not playing. I think that's exactly my point. I think that would be fantastic. I don't I just
Well, yeah. I guess because if Renee thinks an African person, a black person, condemning open air slave markets in North Africa is the same as U.S. carpet bombing, Iraq, we do need some dialogue. If she can't tell the difference,
I don't think I understood.
Wait, you just did a summation of what BAP does just now?
I was
Who?
talking about the Western chauvinist.
No, Jared.
Oh.
I'm doing a summation of what BAP does.
What you just said in terms of critiquing Diallo. So maybe that's what.
I didn't say that was not my summation of what BAP does. I said there is in BAP chats a critique of Diallo and sometimes myself. So I was suggesting that they take that to a show on the platform.
Hateration.
And build content that we can respond to and engage. I don't know what that. And again, it would clarify some. We could clarify some of these.
Okay, well, maybe we shouldn't read what she said now because I don't know.
Well, again, you pulled it up for a reason. I don't know what.
That's I don't.
A critical hour on
the critical hour on BAP. All right, man. Let's go, man. Time to go.
All right. Peace, everybody. Only if you're willing to fight for it. Catch you next time here on Earn Your Liberation throughout the BPM platform. 7:00 tonight. Black Miss is dropping something. Make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss anything else. And we'll catch you next time. Peace, everybody.
You got to earn your liberation.